Chapter 1423. Oh, that woman is so powerful. Li Zhongjiu obviously didn't expect that the woman on the shore could scare him to this extent with just a glance. That's the Lord of the Draconic Penitentiary. You can't afford to offend her. You're all dead. You're really dead. Draconic Penitentiary. That's the Lord from the Draconic Penitentiary. Old Qing was so scared that his heart was about to jump out of his chest. Such a thing happened so suddenly, and it was quite serious for Old Qing. Li Zhongjiu didn't know how terrifying the Dragon Clan, who had experienced the Draconic Penitentiary, was. But Old Qing was quite clear that once you were targeted by them, not only would you die, but you would also die very miserably. Draconic Penitentiary? It's quite interesting. Li Zhongjiu was stunned when he heard that. It was getting more and more interesting. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu killed his way to Dragon Island, but he only killed the 4 supreme masters of the Dragon Clan. He didn't slaughter the entire Dragon Island. But in the final battle, he heard about the Draconic Penitentiary. It was said that the Draconic Penitentiary came to kill him, and he also received a warning from the Draconic Penitentiary. But later, he refined the soul-melting pill, and was inexplicably reborn. So he didn't fight with this legendary supreme and terrifying organization, even among the Dragon Clan. But it was said that the Draconic Penitentiary of Dragon Island belonged to the highest level of the Dragon Island. Even the 4 supreme masters of the Dragon Clan couldn't control the Draconic Penitentiary. Li Zhongjiu didn't know what kind of existence it was, and what kind of nature it belonged to on Dragon Island. But he knew that the strength of the person just now was not weak, at least in the 5th grade Absolute Saint realm. Li Zhongjiu didn't know what kind of means it had. Only after the real fight, Li Zhongjiu would know. Interesting. Forget it, I don't want this Dragon Ball. As soon as Qing Shilong's voice fell, he directly jumped into the sea. Plop. They disappeared without a trace. Li Zhongjiu didn't think that Qing Shilong's character would be so unyielding. He jumped when he said he would. Li Muyuan didn't know what Li Zhongjiu and Old Green were doing. But Li Muyuan knew that Old Green was a dragon. Perhaps he was scared, so he decided to run away. Thinking of this, Li Muyuan couldn't help but be a little worried. If the person who came was really very powerful, the young master might have the ability to protect himself and not let himself get hurt. But he wouldn't have the strength to protect him. Therefore, Li Muyuan was quite conflicted. It's fine. He's probably just scared out of his wits. Li Zhongjiu said. I thought this Li clan was really invincible. They didn't even see the enemy, and they actually fled. Should I give you an oak bucket, so you can carry it back? Liusu suddenly laughed. I think this Li clan is just SOSO. Liusu was simply tired of living. He actually dared to provoke the Li clan's prestige in front of Li Zhongjiu again and again. Li Zhongjiu wouldn't be polite. The next moment, his figure flashed and appeared in front of Liusu. Seeing Li Zhongjiu suddenly approaching, Liusu was instinctively frightened. In the next second, Li Zhongjiu directly threw a slap over. Slap. It was a crisp slap. It directly made Liusu's body spin continuously in the air for more than 10 rounds. Bang! When Liusu fell to the ground, half of his face was at least swollen, as if he was stung by countless wasps. Moreover, blood gushed out of his mouth. One of his teeth was actually knocked out by Li Zhongjiu. A mere 6th grade primitive emperor doesn't need to put on airs in front of me. Originally, Li Zhongjiu could directly kill Liusu with a slap. However, Li Zhongjiu was merciful. After so many years of fighting and killing, Li Zhongjiu was tired of Li Zhongjiu. Occasionally, he would spare these people's lives to make them feel deeper fear. Brat, you don't want to live anymore. You actually dared to attack a master of Divine Emperor Island. Seeing this, Lord Su immediately became furious. He pointed at Li Zhongjiu's nose and was about to scold him. In the next second, Li Zhongjiu sent a flying kick. Bang! Lord Su's huge body directly rose from the deck of the warship and instantly flew into the sky. This kick at least sent Lord Su flying to a height of at least 500 to 600 meters in the sky. Even Lord Su's figure could no longer be seen. He disappeared just like that. Zhuo Changzhou and the others looked at each other. They didn't expect this young man from the Li family to be so ruthless. Lord Su flew such a long distance, There was basically no way for him to survive. In the vast sea, it wasn't easy to find him. Just the moment he fell into the sea was enough to shatter his internal organs. How dare you? Today I Gulang. Gulang your mother. Li Zhongjiu gave him another backhand slap and sent him flying. Boom. This was Master Gulang from Divine Emperor Island. The left side of his face was directly swollen. At the same time, his body was also sent flying. He tumbled a few times in the air and finally landed on the ground with a bang. He opened his mouth and spat out teeth mixed with blood, killing one with a slap. 2 slaps were enough to settle the 2 masters of the Divine Emperor Island. With Li Zhongjiu's strength, Zhuo Changzhou and the others looked at the scene in front of them in shock. At first, they wanted to see the peak competition between the people from Divine Emperor Island and the people from the Li family. However, they didn't expect Li Zhongjiu's slaps to be so easy to defeat, as if they had eyes. Just like that, he killed them with a slap. It was really terrifying. Everyone looked at the invincible Li Zhongjiu standing on the deck against the wind and waves. With such an unparalleled aura, no one dared to step forward to interrupt him. No one even dared to speak to him. In the past, this father and son pair were always mocking and ridiculing the Li family. Now they knew how powerful they were. After seeing Li Zhongjiu make a move, Li Muyuan was still as confident and decisive as ever. Straightforward and efficient. He was indeed his young master. He was indeed powerful. Therefore it was better to speak less nonsense in normal times. Instead, use your own strength to show off and let others know how powerful you are. 2 slaps were all it would take to shut these mouthy people up. Although Li Muyuan didn't show any complacency on his face, he was overjoyed in his heart. He didn't know what to say, but he felt really good. When Gulang was slapped to the ground, he already realized how powerful Li Zhongjiu was. Because even with his strength as a 3rd-grade sovereign, he couldn't block Li Zhongjiu's attack. Even if he wanted to use his elemental energy to remove the burning pain on his face, he was still unable to do so. Therefore, this half of his face was swollen. In a sorry state, he hurriedly crawled to the side and sat up with Lu Su. He didn't dare to look at Li Zhongjiu again. They didn't expect the people from the Li family to be so unreasonable. They didn't say anything and you directly hit them. You even beat them to such a state. There was no respect for the law at all. Could it be that the reputation of the number 1 family was built by fighting like this? It really made them very unhappy. But they didn't dare to say anything. Li Zhongjiu never took the people from the Divine Emperor Island seriously. Previously, he was just a little lazy and couldn't be bothered to make a move. Now that these people had obviously delivered themselves to his hands, of course, he had to let them have a good taste of it. Suddenly, a black cloud appeared in the sky above the big ship. The dark cloud was like a whirlpool, descending rapidly, as if it was going to fall on the warship. At this moment, thick lightning could be seen emerging from the dark cloud. At the same time, strong winds were blowing on the surface of the sea. In the distance, there was a wave of more than 100 meters, which was rapidly approaching. Rumble! The wave was like an army of thousands of men and horses, rushing over directly. When they saw the mountain-like waves coming, the people on the ship started to shout. But an experienced general also ordered everyone to quickly grab the ropes around them. Otherwise, the first wave would instantly wash them into the boundless sea. In the blink of an eye, they would be dozens of miles away. In that case, it would basically be a death sentence. It was not an easy task to find them. Even if they wanted to find the corpse, it would be very difficult. Demonic dragon. It's the demonic dragon. Immediately, someone saw that there was an extremely huge figure rolling up and down in the huge wave. Suddenly, the demonic dragon's figure violently swung its tail. Then, like a collapsing mountain, the huge wave came crashing down on their ship. Under this terrifying aura, everyone felt suffocated. Even if they wanted to dodge, they felt that there was nowhere to hide. He could only watch helplessly as this terrifying wave came crashing down on him. Come out! With a flip of his hand, Li Zhongjiu unleashed a terrifying palm strike forward. Boom! Li Zhongjiu's palm directly shattered the huge wave. At the same time, the demonic dragon hidden in the huge wave was forced to reveal its true form by Li Zhongjiu's palm. At this moment, It was the first time that everyone saw the legendary demonic dragon so clearly and at such a close distance. Boom! When Master Gulang saw that it was actually a demonic dragon and not some other origin beast, his face instantly turned extremely ugly. Chapter 1424. Gulang couldn't believe it himself. Dragon race. 1,000 years ago, when the Divine Emperor Island dominated the world, the dragon race did not appear. Moreover, the Divine Emperor Island's clan discovered that there were many resources in the vast sea. Therefore, they brought their clan to this place. To expand their territory, they brought their entire clan here. This was a decision made by the clan's leaders. However, even when they were at their peak, they had never seen the dragon race. However, there were records in the clan's ancient books. The legendary dragon clan really did exist. Moreover, the ancient books also said that once you discover the dragon race, you must avoid them as much as possible. If you can't avoid them, you must keep a low profile in front of them. Otherwise, they will take your life in an instant. The dragon race's strength was not something that ordinary people could imagine. Sea dragon race. When Li Zhongjie saw the giant dragon, he also discovered that it belonged to the sea dragon race. It liked to live in the sea. No wonder it was able to stir up trouble. It was the king of the sea. Roar! This giant dragon was forced to reveal its true form by Li Zhongjie, and it immediately roared angrily. There was a terrifying fluctuation in the surroundings. In an instant, hundreds of water pillars surged up. One of the water pillars directly hit Li Zhongjie's ship and rushed into the sky. Everyone exclaimed. However, Li Zhongjie also raised his hand and summoned the Tianwu ship. The Tianwu ship was extremely huge. Immediately, Li Zhongjie's ship landed on the Tianwu ship. The Tianwu ship immediately started to hover in the sky. Boom! When the Tianwu ship appeared, it immediately shocked everyone. It was extremely difficult to make such a huge ship fly in the sky. Now that the Tianwu ship was hovering in the sky, it prevented the ship from falling from the sky. Roar! The sea dragon was extremely displeased. This was because its move just now was not able to directly throw Li Zhongjie and the others into the sea. When all of them fell into the sea, it would be its world. But even if you don't fall, you won't be able to escape from him. It's the sea god dragon. It's the legendary sea god dragon. Grandmaster Gulang hurriedly stood up. His heart trembled violently when he saw the scene below. He had never seen the sea god dragon before. However, there were records of it in the ancient records of his tribe. Now that he was witnessing it with his own eyes, he was truly astonished. The sea god dragon had the power to control the entire ocean. No one was a match for the sea god dragon. Boom! The sea god dragon leaped out of the sea and crashed into the Sky Marshal Arkansas. Even the Sky Marshal boat couldn't withstand the sea god dragon's attack. It shook violently for a while. However, the ship itself was not destroyed. Is it just you? Li Zhongjie sneered. In the next moment, he leaped off the Sky Marshal ship with the matchless sword in his hand. Boom! The matchless sword chi fell from the top and landed on the sea. In an instant, a crack that was almost 100 meters deep was formed in the sea. Boom! A terrifying power exploded instantly. The so-called sea god dragon was also hit by the matchless sword. More than half of its skin and flesh were sliced off. The sea god dragon immediately howled in pain. It was obvious that the sword had broken through its defense, and at the same time, it had inflicted a serious injury on it. Go! The matchless sword chopped off the sea god dragon's head. Boom! The sea god dragon's corpse fell onto the sea. The legendary sea god dragon that was almost invincible, the overlord of the sea, was easily killed by Li Zhongjie. The matchless sword flew back and landed in his hand. The realms of both sides weren't on the same level. Therefore, there was no need for them to get entangled. Li Zhongjie also wanted to see if there were any other sea dragons present. However, after waiting for a while, he did not see any other sea god dragons. Hence, he decided to attack and kill it. The Sky Marshal ship fell into the sea with a loud boom. Since it was made into the shape of a boat, it meant that it could sail even in the sea. It could be used in both water and air. When the Sky Marshal ship landed on the sea, everyone could clearly see the sea god dragon's corpse on the sea. Master Gulang, who was screaming that he was done for, opened his mouth wide in shock. His mouth was so wide that it could fit 10 eggs. The legendary sea god dragon had been killed so easily. It felt as if Li Zhongjie had casually killed a small snake. How did he manage to kill the sea god dragon so easily? Was there a mistake? Could it be that this sea god dragon was a very weak one? Gulang thought to himself. However, he did not dare to say it out loud. Otherwise, he would not be able to speak if he was slapped again. At the same time, in front of Li Zhongjie's powerful strength, he did not dare to act rashly. This is the Supreme Dragon Tribe? Zhuo Changzhou and the rest were extremely shocked. At this moment, the sea god dragon's corpse floated up. Seeing this scene, they were extremely shocked. What supreme? They are just meta beasts. They are just slightly stronger compared to ordinary meta beasts. Li Muyuan seemed to have seen through the essence of it. At least to Li Zhongjie, the dragon tribe was just a slightly stronger meta beast. In addition, its body shape was a little different and it could fly. That was why everyone was afraid of the dragon tribe, and thought that the dragon tribe was a legendary existence. In reality, they were just SOSO. After hearing Li Muyuan's words, everyone finally understood that the Li family was already at such a high level. Just by talking, he was able to belittle the dragon tribe to such an extent. However, who exactly was this young man in front of them? Just as Zhuo Changzhou and the rest were puzzled, hundreds of ships suddenly appeared in the sea in front of them. Moreover, these ships formed a semicircle and rushed towards the Sky Marshal ship. The sudden appearance of so many warships meant that these warships were equipped with extremely powerful weapons. Therefore, they must be careful. After all, the number of the enemy was just too much. Li Zhongjie also looked over and saw a few familiar faces. The size of a large ship was actually similar to the Sky Marshal ship. It slowly approached. There were many experts standing at the bow of the ship. There were also many archers standing on the mast. The Sea Empress of the Four Seas greets Lord Evil Lord. The fleet that came was the fleet of the Four Seas. You are from the Sea God Palace. Zhuo Changzhou naturally knew about the existence of the Four Seas, and the top ruler of the Four Seas, the Sea God Palace. It was rumored that the Sea God Palace was an extremely powerful existence. As a result, the Xingyan dynasty could only establish diplomatic relations with the Sea God Palace. They were not allowed to send troops to the Four Seas. Otherwise, the Four Seas would have become the land of the Xingyan dynasty. The Four Seas naturally noticed this incident. After all, it happened at sea. However, they did not expect the people from the Four Seas to arrive so quickly. Wait, what did you say? Evil Lord? When Zhuo Changzhou heard what the Sea Empress said, he was immediately shocked. His eyes widened as he looked at Li Zhongjie, who was beside him. Evil Lord. In the eyes of the people of Jianghu, he was the Evil Lord. However, in the eyes of these officials, he was the national protector. Greetings, Imperial Tutor. Greetings, Imperial Tutor. Zhuo Changzhou and the rest quickly knelt down in front of Li Zhongjie. They did not expect the young man in front of them to be the legendary Imperial Tutor. They had long heard that the Imperial Tutor was extremely powerful. His origin energy was so powerful that he could even compete with the three dynasties. This made the three dynasties extremely fearful of the Imperial Tutor. However, they did not expect this legendary figure to be standing in front of them. Since the Sea Empress said so directly, how could it be fake? With the Sea Empress status, she was equivalent to a king of the Xingyan dynasty. Therefore, what the Sea Empress said must be true. The people from the Divine Emperor Island, who were slapped twice, also gasped. The person they looked down on just now was the legendary Evil Lord. No wonder he was so powerful and could easily defeat the Sea Empress. It wasn't unreasonable for him to kill the Sea God Dragon so easily. Get up, Li Zhongjie said lightly. In fact, Li Zhongjie was not interested in the title of Imperial Tutor. On the contrary, the people from the Sea God Palace came so quickly. Is this thing yours? Li Zhongjie pointed at the corpse of the Sea God Dragon below. Could it be the Sea God Dragon that was reared by the Sea God Palace? However, the Sea Empress shook her head. No, this sea dragon killed hundreds of people in the Four Seas. I tracked it here. I did not expect this sea dragon to be the one who offended the Evil Lord. Sea Empress. The Sea Empress said. Is there such a dragon in the sea? Li Zongjiu asked. In fact, this sea dragon did not have much to do with the Dragon Island. In other words, it did not come from the Dragon Island. However, the people of the Dragon Island probably wanted to control it, so they summoned it. It was originally hiding in the deep sea, but now it was exposed. It had been stirring up trouble for several days. It thought that no one could deal with it. Who knew that it was easily dealt with by Li Zongjiu? It had to pretend to be interested in Li Zongjiu. Now there was no chance. If I'm not wrong, there are 2 more in the deep sea. The Sea Empress' expression was not relaxed. Just as the Sea Empress finished speaking, all the seawater within 1,000 miles boiled directly. Chapter 1425. The seawater suddenly boiled. Moreover, there seemed to be a terrifying and enormous shadow under the surface of the sea. After the sudden emergence, the surrounding seawater seemed to have suddenly risen. Zhang Xiaoyu of the Sea God Palace also came with the Sea Empress. Since the experience, Zhang Xiaoyu had matured a lot. After understanding Li Zongjiu's terrifying strength, she became more honest and didn't dare to act rashly in front of Li Zongjiu. If it was before, this girl might have dared to yell at Li Zongjiu. When the seawater suddenly rose, Li Zongjiu knew that it must be the work of the other 2 sea god dragons. Rumble. As the sea level rose, it seemed that all the ships were also on top of the huge waves. Li Zongjiu's Sky Marshal ship and the other ships were huge and had a very stable chassis. Therefore, they were barely able to maintain their balance in such a situation. However, the other warships that came from the 4 seas weren't so lucky. They were directly overturned by the huge waves. A simple wave of the sea came and smashed the ship into smithereens. Even though they had lived on this sea for generations, it was still the first time they had encountered such a situation. It was the first time they had seen such ferocious waves. Boom! 2 huge sea dragons rushed out from the roaring seawater. The waves brought about by his body were also like huge waves, forming an extremely terrifying waterfall that fell down. Rumble. The latter seemed to be wailing, because the ones that were killed were their children. Originally, these sea dragons were hidden in the deep sea. Now, it had only just appeared. But because of this situation, it was going to be killed just because it ate a few people. They really didn't put the Sea Dragon clan in their eyes. In fact, there weren't many people left in the Sea Dragon clan. It would be difficult for them to form another inheritance. However, Li Zongjiu had killed their inheritor. He really wanted to end their bloodline. The angry sea dragon immediately shook its tail. A terrifying giant wave was set off on the spot, rolling along with this giant wave. Suddenly, a tornado was formed on the sea level. The tornado sucked all the seawater into the sky. Some ships were also sucked in, and then thrown thousands of meters into the sky. They immediately fell from the sky, and were naturally smashed to pieces. In the blink of an eye, the warships in the 4 seas were directly damaged. When the Sea Empress saw this scene, her eyes were obviously quite shocked. She immediately made her move. She stretched out her hand, and a golden trident appeared in her hand. This thing should be the treasure that the Sea Empress went to the Shenggu continent to find. The Sea Empress immediately stabbed the trident in her hand towards the deck. Energy that was visible to the naked eye. Immediately, a wave of energy calmed the violent waves. The Sea Empress. Even the tornadoes in the distance that wanted to approach were forced to stop under the release of this energy. You are indeed quite capable. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to fight with the sea dragon. Li Zongjiu saw this and smiled slightly. Although the Sea Empress' strength was nothing in front of Li Zongjiu, she was definitely considered powerful in the eyes of these people. It was not easy to calm the endless power of the waves. Who killed my child? One of the sea dragons suddenly transformed into a human figure. She stepped on the head of another sea dragon and stared at the 2 warships in front of her. She transformed into a middle-aged woman, but her face was full of hatred and was covered with scales. She looked extremely terrifying. Chua Changzhou and the others looked at Li Zongjiu. After all, on this ship, only Li Zongjiu had the ability to deal with the other party. However, Li Zongjiu had not made a move yet. Now that the other party has already come to find trouble with you, can you still tolerate it? With a wave of his hand, The unparalleled sword appeared in his hand. I killed him. Li Zhongjiu faced the boundless waves around him. His opponent's enormous and intimidating body was also exerting a powerful pressure on the people below. The waves came in waves, as if someone was constantly splashing water on the ship. Zhang Xiaoyu was also drenched in the wind and waves. However, Zhang Xiaoyu still stood firmly at the bow of the ship with a sword in her hand. She stared at the sea dragon in front of her. She looked at Li Zhongjiu, who was opposite her, with a sword in his hand. Facing this tall and mighty giant beast, he didn't cower in the slightest. Instead, he even released his aura. The surrounding waves and tides were dispersed to the side. Whoosh! The sea dragon immediately rushed towards Li Zhongjiu. The waves were thousands of feet high. Immediately, the waves came crashing down with the power to destroy the world. Boom! Li Zhongjiu also casually swung his sword and easily split the falling seawater apart. Boom! The Sky Marshal ship was hit by the other party's body. He had even released his own defensive barrier. It covered the bottom of the ship. It blocked the other party's attack. Li Zhongjiu jumped down from the Sky Marshal ship. He was quite interested in these two sea divine dragons. Since that was the case, he would like to see what these two sea dragons were capable of. Then, Li Zhongjiu was like a fast boat breaking through the waves, quickly rushing towards the distance. Whoosh! Li Zhongjiu's figure disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Immediately, the two sea divine dragons chased after Li Zhongjiu. These people could be killed at any time. However, Li Zhongjiu, the thief, wanted to escape. Of course, it was impossible. Seeing Li Zhongjiu lure the two sea divine dragons away, the Empress was also worried. The Sea Empress was also worried. She immediately put away the trident in her hand. Xiaoyu, you guys stay here and guard. Don't move around. Empress, be careful, Zhang Xiaoyu said with concern. Although she wanted to help Li Zhongjiu, she knew that she was not strong enough. Not to mention helping, she might not even be able to keep up with him. The Empress waved her hand. Immediately, a meta beast that looked like a flying fish appeared under the Empress's feet. It quickly flew forward with the Empress. Boom! Li Zhongjiu's figure rushed out. The sea dragon behind him also attacked quickly. Immediately, hundreds of water pillars gushed out, instantly blocking Li Zhongjiu's path and blocking his way. Li Zhongjiu deliberately slowed down to play with these sea dragons. Don't even think about running away after killing my son. Immediately, the giant sea dragon appeared. At the same time, it slapped its tail. Immediately, there were thousands of water arrows in the sea, rushing towards Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu raised his hand, and a surge of meta force appeared. Immediately, the water arrows seemed to hit an invisible shield. They were directly shattered. It was easily resolved. I'm curious, what kind of special ability does your sea dragon clan have? Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. He stood with his hands behind his back and stepped on the unparalleled sword. Then I'll let you see the ability of our sea dragon clan. Immediately, the two sea dragons quickly transformed into their original forms. Then they directly circled each other. They trapped Li Zhongjiu in it. Li Zhongjiu immediately let the two sea dragons circle around him. In the center of the vortex, Li Zhongjiu was not nervous at all. He still stood in the same place, watching the two sea dragons circle around him. The Empress, who was chasing from a distance, saw this scene, and her face suddenly changed. This is the Sea Dragon Clan's secret technique, Sea Abyss. The Empress' face became extremely ugly when she saw Li Zhongjiu in it. She had only heard of this technique, but she had never seen it before. Legend has it that as long as one was sucked in by this technique, they would be instantly brought into the abyss of the deep sea. Moreover, they would be trapped in the abyss forever, never to see the light of day again. Li Zhongjiu also clearly felt the suction force. However, this little suction force was simply a drizzle for Li Zhongjiu. However, Li Zhongjiu was also very playful. Since this technique was so powerful, he would let Li Zhongjiu experience it. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu no longer resisted, and even took the initiative to drill into the center of the suction force. Boom! Li Zhongjiu entered the abyss of the seabed alone. There was endless darkness around him, almost swallowing Li Zhongjiu. At the same time, there was a strong pressure coming from his body. Unfortunately, Li Zongjiu had already achieved the chaotic body. The two sea dragons directly came out of the darkness and bit at Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu directly punched out. Even in the depths of the sea, Li Zongjiu's movements did not slow down at all. In the battle in the deep sea, Li Zongjiu easily swung the two sea dragons back and forth. The sea dragons were beaten into a state of chaos. They were on the verge of collapse. The two sea dragons could not understand why they were so easily defeated by Li Zongjiu, even though they had already dragged Li Zongjiu into the deep sea. One of the sea dragons also moved its body frantically. However, it did not attack Li Zongjiu. Instead, it suddenly crashed into the bottom of the sea. Boom! At the bottom of the sea, a pitch-black hole immediately appeared. When Li Zongjiu saw the hole, his expression changed instantly. At the same time, a sharp sound directly erupted from the hole, as if something was rapidly rushing up. Troublesome. Suddenly, the flames on Li Zongjiu's unparalleled sword rotated. Boom! He easily killed the two sea dragons with a single slash. Chapter 1426. Fresh blood instantly dyed the seawater red. However, Li Zongjiu's attention was on the strange deep pit created by the sea dragon. Immediately, the deep pit seemed to have sensed the sea dragon's blood. There was an inexplicable force that attracted the sea dragon's blood. Swoosh! Something seemed to have flown out of it. When Li Zongjiu saw it clearly, he was surprised to find that it was a strange monster. Boom! The monster's speed was extremely fast, and its whole body was on the surface. Its mouth and teeth alone occupied half of its body. In an instant, it approached Li Zongjiu and bit Li Zongjiu's body. However, Li Zongjiu's defense was strong. Although the monster's speed was fast, and the explosive power of its teeth was very strong, when it bit down, it did not cause any damage to Li Zongjiu. With a flip of his hand, Li Zongjiu grabbed the little thing and pinched it in his hand. He easily strangled the latter to death, causing its teeth to bite each other and bite him. In the end, it bit itself to death. This is the Abyss clan's ghost face fish. Just when Li Zongjiu was wondering about the origin of the fish in his hand, a voice suddenly sounded beside Li Zongjiu. When he looked over, he found that it was none other than the person who watched him go out to sea at the port of North Sea City. It's you. Previously, Qing Shilong also said that this woman was a lord from the Draconic Penitentiary. Li Zongjiu was not clear about what kind of existence the Draconic Penitentiary was, but the latter was indeed quite capable to be able to approach him silently. This surprised Li Zongjiu. In fact, Li Zongjiu's current yuan qi cultivation had not reached the latter's level. However, it was not difficult for him to defeat the latter by relying on his own will incarnation. However, it seemed that this woman did not come for him, but for the Abyss clan. Abyss clan. When Li Zongjiu heard this name, he suddenly recalled that the Abyssal tribe was one of the 9 great tribes. However, the 9 lineages heavenly book did not have a detailed record of the Abyss clan. There were only a few words about them, and they were quite mysterious. No one knew where they lived or what their habits were. At this moment, he didn't even think about it. The thing in front of him was the legendary Abyss race. That's strange. Why are all these things appearing at this time? Li Zongjiu was also shocked. The fallen race appeared in the sacred martial realm and caused a lot of destruction. However, Li Zongjiu beat the fallen race into a half-cripple. Then, it was destroyed by the ferocious and powerful ape clan. It was likely that the fallen race had been removed from the list. It seemed that other than the human race, the other races also erupted at this time, fighting, competing, and devouring each other. Even the dragon race was a little restless, as if they wanted to lead the Origin Beast clan in a rebellion. In fact, the human race and the Origin Beast clan got along quite well on the sacred martial continent. They were able to ensure peace between each other, and there were no large-scale killings. It could only be said that the strength of both sides seemed to be at a balance point. It was this balance point that allowed the two races to coexist. Now, another Abyss clan had appeared at the bottom of the sacred artifact continent's deep sea. It was really troublesome. The Abyss clan had not erupted on a large scale yet. Instead, they were appearing bit by bit. The woman from the Draconic Penitentiary also released a stream of yuan qi, to temporarily seal the abyss hole. As for the abyss fish that escaped just now, there were not many of them. Although the abyss race was ferocious, the few small fishes just now couldn't stir up much of a storm here. My name is Longji. I can explain to you what has happened recently. We may need evil lord's help in the future. Longji looked at Li Zongjiu and said. Although Longji was also from the dragon race, she was obviously much more polite. Moreover, she was more aware of her identity and status, so she would not put on airs in front of Li Zongjiu. As for those who put on airs, Li Zongjiu would of course not be nice to them. I am not interested in the affairs of the dragon race. If anyone dares to provoke me, they can't blame me, Li Zongjiu said. Then, his body suddenly dashed towards the surface of the deep sea. Bang! It took Li Zongjiu almost a minute to rush out of the sea. He estimated that the depth just now was at least 100,000 meters. There were indeed many secrets on the sacred martial continent. After rushing out of the sea, Li Zongjiu immediately saw the Sea Empress. The Sea Empress was obviously looking for Li Zongjiu. After all, it would be difficult for him to survive after being hit by the Sea Dragon race's unique skill. However, the Sea Empress believed that Li Zongjiu would be able to block it. Perhaps there was still a chance for him to survive. Therefore, she looked around and waited for Li Zongjiu to appear. Sir Evil Lord, why are you here? Li Zongjiu glanced at the Sea Empress. The latter's cultivation had improved, but it was still impossible for her to deal with the two sea dragons. I just saw the Sea Dragon race's unique skill. It's just some insignificant skill. I've already dealt with it, Li Zongjiu said. When the Sea Empress saw Li Zongjiu appear, it explained a lot of things. There was no doubt that the two sea dragons had been killed by Li Zongjiu. It was too terrifying. The two sea dragons were extremely powerful. Even the Sea Empress didn't have confidence in dealing with them. Moreover, if the two sea dragons joined forces, the Sea Empress might not even be able to survive. However, there was no other way. She was the leader of the four seas. She was the leader of everyone. If she didn't take action, then no one would. However, she didn't expect that the two sea dragons would be easily dealt with by Li Zongjiu. After you go back, it's best for you to take the people of the four seas and leave the sea, Li Zongjiu said. At this moment, the two were flying side by side towards the direction of the sky marshal ship. What? The people of the four seas rely on the sea for a living. How is it possible for them to return to the mainland? They have long been deeply rooted. It won't be easy to migrate. After the Sea Empress heard this, she was very surprised. Moreover, how is this possible? However, when she looked at Li Zongjiu's expression, it seemed to be a little serious. There was also a trace of surprise in the Sea Empress's eyes. But what happened at the bottom of the sea? The Sea Empress asked cautiously. After all, Li Zongjiu's identity was different. He was the evil lord, the top expert of the entire Shengwu continent. Even in the untainted land, Li Zongjiu's name as the evil lord had long been known. The Abyssal clan will be here soon, Li Zongjiu said. The Abyssal clan. Just these three words were enough to make the Sea Empress tremble. The Sea Empress wasn't clear about the origin of the Abyssal clan. However, there were very clear records in the ancient records of the clan. The Abyssal clan was almost equivalent to the demons of the sea. If the powerful Abyssal clan appeared, it wouldn't take half a year for the entire sea to become a dead sea. There wouldn't be any aura of living creatures. All the creatures in the sea would be eaten clean. It was recorded in the ancient records of the Sea God Palace that there was once a disaster of the Abyssal clan. However, they were lucky at that time. The Abyssal clan only had time to eat the two rivers. When they wanted to rush into the sea, they were all hunted down. The Sea God's Palace was also built at that time to prevent the Abyssal tribe from making a comeback. The two rivers that had been eaten clean in the past were now dried up, and no more creatures were born in them. This kind of damage and destruction was irreversible. Therefore, they were a very dangerous creature. The Abyssal clan is coming. Is this true? We must stop them. The Sea Empress's expression suddenly changed. This matter has little to do with me. Li Zongjiu frowned. The heavenly Tao was unpredictable. No matter how it developed, it would have its own trajectory of development. Although Li Zongjie was strong enough to defy the heavens and change his fate, changing the world was impossible. But that was impossible. Although the Abyssal clan was powerful, they couldn't stay ashore for a long time. Therefore, they just needed to stay away from the water. How can it have nothing to do with me? As long as there is water, the Abyssal clan can be everywhere. Although the forces of the islands in the four seas will bear the brunt, the next will be all the creatures on the continent. The Sea Empress said excitedly. She tried to persuade Li Zongjie to help. After all, this matter was indeed too dangerous. The slightest carelessness could lead to eternal damnation. Li Zongjie didn't continue to communicate with the Sea Empress about this matter. The Sky Marshal ship and the Sea God Palace were already in sight. On the surface of the sea, the two ships still appeared extremely small. Many people who fell into the water were also rescued. Li Zongjie returned to the Sky Marshal ship. The Sea Empress asked Li Zongjie for the last time, but she didn't get a response. She reluctantly returned to her Sea God Palace. Let's go. The Sea Empress' mood was a little low. It seemed like she was bullied. Zhang Xiaoyu suddenly became angry. However, the Sea Empress pulled her back. Let's go. Chapter 1427. When Li Zongjie returned to the Sky Marshal ship, he found that the people on the ship were a little strange. Their expressions were as if they were being coerced. He immediately raised his head and saw a person lying on the mast. She was trimming her nails and seemed to be very satisfied. It's this woman again. Li Zongjie naturally saw the other party. His face immediately turned gloomy. It's you again? Li Zongjie saw the other party, but he didn't welcome her. The corner of Longji's mouth slightly raised. She waved her hand, and a figure was fished out from the sea. She threw it on the ship. I'm here to make friends with you. Consider this a greeting gift. The one who was thrown on the deck was Qing Shilong, who was about to escape. Obviously, Qing Shilong had long been targeted by Longji. Therefore, she directly caught him and threw him on the deck. Qing Shilong himself was quite aggrieved. I won't dare to do it again. Lord, I won't dare to do it again. Qing Shilong was scared out of his wits. He was a dignified supreme being expert, but he encountered such terrifying monsters one after another. Li Zongjie came. Now, even the Lord of the Draconic Penitentiary personally came to deal with him. Qing Shilong could only wait to be slaughtered. Moreover, without the dragon pearl, Qing Shilong's cultivation would quickly decline. At that time he would become a crippled dragon. Anyway, it was already like this. There was nothing to run away from. I don't care about this thing. Li Zongjie lifted his leg and kicked Qing Shilong back into the sea. Splash. Qing Shilong swore that he had never been so humiliated in his life. He was a dignified dragon, but he was kicked around like a rubber ball. Longji saw that Li Zongjie was so difficult to deal with. She immediately frowned her willowy eyebrows. You really don't know what's good for you. Longji was a little angry. In her eyes, Dragon Island did have a part of the responsibility for the whole thing. However, Dragon Island will settle their own matters. They don't need outsiders to interfere. However, Li Zongjie came out of nowhere and helped Dragon Island prevent some things from happening. Furthermore, his cultivation didn't seem weak either. In that case, it wouldn't be a big problem to cooperate with each other once or twice. However, she did not realize that the Li Zongjie in front of her was actually such a difficult bone to chew. This made Longji very angry, even though he hadn't interacted with any humans for a long time. And let's not talk about revering the Dragon Clan. He should at least have some ordinary mutual respect. The fact that you didn't do that made Longji very unhappy. Even some of the old monsters on the Dragon Island had to be respectful when they saw him. But this human boy was very arrogant. It seems that you are very confident in your own strength. Longji jumped down from the railing. She landed lightly in front of Li Zongjie and faced Li Zongjie directly. In that case, let's have a fight. If you can win against me, I won't pester you. If you lose, you will have to cooperate with Dragon Island. Fight, Longji said. Then, she stared into Li Zongjie's eyes, as if she was trying to see if Li Zongjie dared to accept the challenge. As for Li Zongjie, he wasn't someone who could be provoked so easily. Besides, Li Zongjie wouldn't do anything that would waste his energy. There's no benefit in winning against you. If I ignore you now, won't I get the same result? Not interested. Li Zongjie wouldn't do such a strenuous and thankless task. Then, Li Zongjie clapped his hands and threw the warship that Zhuo Changzhou and the others were on back into the sea. All of you get on the ship. The matter of the sea dragons has been settled. There's no need to stay here anymore. Li Zongjie said. When Zhuo Changzhou and the others heard Li Zongjie's words, their eyes lit up. This meant that the two great sea dragons had been settled. That was too awesome. He could slay a dragon with just a wave of his hand. Only the evil lord Li Zongjie. None of you are allowed to leave. Young man, I've given you face time and time again. Don't ruin my patience. Long Ji's eyes shone with a cold light. At the same time, there seemed to be a faint murderous aura on the surface of the sea. Under this murderous aura, Zhuo Changzhou and the others felt as if the blood in their bodies was about to solidify. They looked at Long Ji, then at Li Zongjie. It was as if they were waiting to see who should listen to. You're really courting death. To Li Zongjie, the repeated unreasonable pestering was already very unpleasant. If this continued, he would really fly into a rage. But just as Li Zongjie was about to make his move, Long Ji seemed to have sensed something. Her eyes suddenly looked towards the horizon. Oh no, young man. I'll compete with you next time. Long Ji muttered to herself. Then, her figure disappeared from the spot. But her last sentence resounded through the sky. Li Zongjie had never met such an arrogant person. It was mainly because Long Ji ran fast. She was also hiding her strength. Even Li Zongjie couldn't see the other party's movements clearly. It seemed that there was always someone better than you out there. Zhuo Changzhou and the others kept rubbing their eyes to make sure that she had really disappeared. With a whoosh, she disappeared just like that. It was too scary. She actually dared to challenge Evil Lord's position. Could it be that that woman didn't know who was standing in front of her? How dare she be so arrogant? She was lucky to have run fast. Otherwise, Evil Lord would have twisted her head off in a fit of rage. Li Zongjie didn't chase after her. The reason why she left so quickly was probably because something had happened on Dragon Island. Because Li Zongjie had also sensed the aura of a great battle in the distance. It seemed that Dragon Island couldn't even fend for itself. In fact, it was just something like that. To Li Zongjie, it was all the same. It was nothing more than an evil dragon trying to disrupt the order of the mainland. On the other hand, Long Ji represented the righteous side. If she wanted to subdue the evil dragons, it would be a simple matter. Return. Li Zongjie waved his hand. Zhuo Changzhou also got someone to bring back a part of the sea dragon's corpse. This was something that could contribute greatly. When they returned, they would definitely be rewarded. Even though Li Zongjie was the one who took action this time, it was also Zhuo Changzhou who pulled the strings. The two people on the Divine Emperor Island became even more obedient at this moment. They didn't even dare to utter a single word along the way. After all, their teeth were knocked out, and they couldn't speak properly. They only wanted to return to Divine Emperor Island as soon as possible. They really didn't dare to embarrass themselves out here. With Li Zongjie's strength, Divine Emperor Island was nothing compared to them. The Divine Emperor Island was far inferior to Li Zongjie. Even if all of them worked together, they would not be a match for Li Zongjie. Even if there were, they would only be courting death. If the island master of Divine Emperor Island is interested, my Li family will definitely pay you a visit in the future. Li Muyuan said to Master Gu Lang and Zhuo Changzhou calmly. Gu Lang and Zhuo Changzhou shuddered upon hearing this. Gu Lang's strength was already among the top 10 in Divine Emperor Island. But he couldn't even withstand a slap from Li Zongjie. Now there was nothing more to say. Li Muyuan's intention was quite clear. We wouldn't dare. In the future, the Divine Emperor Island will definitely pay you a visit. Even a force as strong as Divine Emperor Island had directly bowed down. They didn't even need to use any other means to make the Divine Emperor Island yield. Zhuo Changzhou and the others were trembling with fear. This was the true strength of the Li family. In fact, the Li family had also produced a lot of experts recently. After all, Li Zongjie had accumulated a lot of resources. As long as he worked hard, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to achieve a certain level of success. However, If he didn't live up to expectations, he couldn't blame others. Li Zhongjiu didn't continue to stay in North Sea City. At the same time, he left Li Muyuan in North Sea City to continue dealing with the follow-up matters. He also asked Li Muyuan to keep an eye on the surrounding sea regions to see what was going on. Even if he told Li Muyuan about the Abyssal tribe now, it wouldn't be of any help. Although Li Muyuan was very capable, there was still a certain gap in terms of strength. It wasn't something that could be solved with just words and courage. He still needed to deal with these matters himself. In addition, Li Zhongjiu also wanted to make a trip to the meeting place of the three dynasties as soon as possible. Something had happened to Dragon Island, which meant that Dragon Island was now at a disadvantage in some aspects. It was inevitable that some other situations would occur. Boom! The Tianwu ship also flew towards the sky. However, Li Zhongjiu didn't fly far before he saw a huge green dragon flapping its wings and rapidly approaching Li Zhongjiu's Tianwu ship. Oh! Li Zhongjiu glanced at the green dragon and didn't say anything. The green dragon was very tactful. It put on the rope again and pulled the Tianwu ship forward. Boom! The Tianwu ship's speed increased by a lot. Soon it passed by the sky above Wuxia city. His mother was still in the city. Li Zhongjiu used his mental strength to check, but it didn't seem to be the time for a reunion. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu continued to fly forward. Relying on his connection with the desolate heaven essence, Li Zhongjiu quickly locked onto Qi Yinran's position. She was in an ancient town. This ancient town belonged to the Tianyin dynasty. It was hidden deep in the mountains, surrounded by mountains and rivers. Only a few generations lived in the ancient town. The scenery was beautiful, and it was a good place to retire. Chapter 1428. This place was called Tianshui Town. It was under the jurisdiction of Tianshui sect. However, it was obvious that this town had been abandoned for a long time. As one of the top 10 sects in Tianyin dynasty, Tianshui sect also participated in the meeting this time. At this moment, Qi Yinran was also accompanying Li Tianqing outside Tianshui town. At the same time, she was telling Li Tianqing about Li Zhongjiu's actions over the years. However, Li Tianqing was not interested in these things. As long as Li Zhongjiu did not do anything outrageous outside, it did not matter. After all, Li Zhongjiu was not a child anymore. It doesn't matter what that brat does. What's important is the matter between the two of you. When we get back, I'll ask those gossipy women to pick a good date for you too. We'll talk about it after we get this done. Li Tianqing urged. Qi Yinran naturally knew that Li Tianqing was talking about the marriage between the two of them. She immediately became shy. In fact, for experts of their realm, these worldly affairs did not have the slightest shackle. However, it was obvious that their parents were quite anxious about this matter. Qi Yinran was about to say these things. Li Zhongjiu could make the decision. However, a twisted dark cloud suddenly appeared above Tianshui town. Along with the emergence of these dark clouds, a terrifying aura directly descended from the sky. Boom! It enveloped the entire Tianshui town. Immediately, the people in Tianshui town were shocked. Uncle, be careful! Qi Yinran protected Li Tianqing behind her. Then, Emperor Xingyan quickly appeared under the protection of the Vermilion Bird Army's commander, Suemo, and met up with Li Tianqing and the others. What's going on? Emperor Xingyan's cultivation was not weak. This time, he did not bring the military master with him. Instead, he let the military master stay in the palace. After all, with Li Tianqing here, there were probably not many people who dared to act recklessly. As for the Haike dynasty's side, the Haike dynasty's emperor was also protected by the experts of Marquis Wanyong. Wan Yonggong also personally set off this time, and Wan Yulan was also in the ranks. Wan Yulan's strength was not weak. After the strange movement in the sky, everyone had already felt that something was wrong. Therefore, they quickly became alert. Boom! Outside of the ancient town, there seemed to be a huge beast charging forward. As it moved, the earth and mountains immediately shook. Everyone looked up and saw what seemed like a small mountain was moving in the distance. It's the dragon tribe. When Qi Yinran saw his mountain-like body, she immediately realized that he was from the dragon clan. Qi Yanran's helped Li Tianqing, 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 Li Tianqing. She must not let these dragons hurt Li Tianqing, or else Li Zongjie would never forgive her. The dragon tribe really took action. When Emperor Xingyan saw this scene, there was a trace of disbelief and anger in his eyes. The location of this meeting is extremely hidden. Someone must have tipped them off. Emperor Xingyan's eyes flashed with light. If something were to happen, only they would know what was going on. Apart from their own people, they would not trust anyone else. Cover the great emperor's retreat. Vermilion bird battleship, take off. Once something happened, there was no need to rush to understand what happened. They just needed to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be accompanied by more dangerous things. Once they were completely surrounded by the opponent's plan, it was equivalent to trouble coming to their door. It would be very dangerous. Therefore, Su Mo gave the order directly. His subordinates immediately summoned the Vermilion Bird battleship. The construction of the Vermilion Bird battleship was greatly contributed by the White Deer Mansion, and the Zheng family of Cerulean Wave Giant City also contributed a lot. Let's leave this place first, Li Tianqing said. It was better not to participate in an unclear battle. Otherwise, there would be more trouble. However, before Emperor Xingyan could board the Vermilion Bird battleship, 3 fireballs suddenly fell from the sky. The Vermilion Bird battleship was directly blown to pieces. Boom! The Vermilion Bird battleship was shattered. A huge flame suddenly exploded. Qi Yanran waved her hand and easily gathered some of the residual power of the explosion in front of her. Su Mo had already led the Vermilion Bird army to defend against the attack. However, these attacks were blocked by Qi Yanran alone. Oh my god! Some people in the Vermilion Bird army looked at Qi Yanran in surprise. Even Su Mo's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. After all, Su Mo had never seen Qi Yanran in action. This time, Su Mo did not approve of Qi Yanran's participation. However, he heard that Qi Yanran was Li Zongjie's woman. Su Mo could not say anything. If necessary, he would have to spare some time to protect Qi Yanran. Therefore, Su Mo was more worried about Qi Yanran's situation. However, when Qi Yanran attacked just now, Su Mo completely understood in his heart. Qi Yanran became Li Zongjie's woman because of this strength. It was really not a joke. This is too scary, Su Mo secretly said in his heart. Boom! The Earth Dragon clan in front had also rushed in. Some of the buildings at the entrance of the town were directly trampled by the Earth Dragon. Boom! It rushed in directly. Then, the more than 300 meters tall Earth Dragon suddenly raised its claws and slashed at Qi Yanran and the others below. Qi Yanran waved her hand and threw out a white light, which instantly penetrated the body of the Earth Dragon in front of her. The Earth Dragon directly looked up and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, its huge body fell to the ground with a bang. It's dead. Su Mo's eyes lit up. The Earth Dragon clan, which was originally regarded as a big trouble, was unexpectedly killed so easily. Everyone follow me. The third elder of the Sky-Water sect, Gong Yu, appeared. At the same time, most of the experts of the Sky-Water sect directly fought with the Earth Dragon clan that appeared in the sky. However, it was obvious that these experts of the Sky-Water sect could not resist the attack for too long. Let's go, Qi Yanran ordered. At this moment, the sky was in chaos. At least 10 fire-breathing dragons appeared in the sky. It was so powerful that there was no place for them to hide. Moreover, there were 7 or 8 Earth Dragons on the ground, directly rushing into the Sky-Water town. The entire Sky-Water town was directly razed to the ground. The third elder of the Sky-Water sect, Gong Yu, also led many disciples to protect the people who came to the meeting. Among them were the Heavenly Flame Emperor and the Heichu Emperor. Emperor Xingyan naturally did not have to worry about Qi Yanran on his side. Gong Yu also saw Qi Yanran's attack, directly killing the Earth Dragon that was at the Supreme Being realm. She was extremely surprised. As a top expert of the Sky-Water sect who had walked out of the Three Flowers gathering, Gong Yu's strength was needless to say. However, even she could not kill these Earth Dragons in a second. Many of the experts also quickly retreated under the cover of this. 10 miles away, there was a mountain range dragon trapping array that was set up in advance. Its purpose was to prevent the dragon clan from attacking. However, the dragon trapping array obviously could not withstand the attack of so many dragon clan members. However, it could at least hold on for a while. Therefore, many parties also released their own distress signals one after another. Since they came to the meeting, they naturally had a lot of preparation. All the signal flares rose into the sky, and the reinforcements arrived immediately. Everyone, don't panic. Our Heavenly Flame Dynasty's 100,000 divine eagles have already gathered and are now on their way. At this moment, at the edge of the mountain range, a large black mass of divine controlling eagles could be seen approaching. The divine eagle army had all tamed level 4 origin beasts. They were a type of eagle-type meta beast. When the Heavenly Flame Emperor saw his troops coming, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. However, in the next moment, these aerial troops that had come to provide support were easily burned to a crisp in a flash of fire. The 100,000 aerial troops were instantly engulfed by the sea of fire. Moreover, these flying eagles did not have a chance to escape. Chapter 1429. Heavenly Flame Emperor's face suddenly turned gloomy. The aerial troops that he was bragging about were destroyed in the blink of an eye. Not even the last trace was left behind. Everything was burned to ashes. Looking at the situation before him, even if the reinforcements arrived, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Safety was of no use at all. Right in front of the mountain range dragon trapping array, 2 fire-breathing dragons were circling in the sky. After finding the right opportunity, they opened their mouths and spewed out flames. Immediately, waves of heat rolled over. Everyone also saw that the defensive barrier that appeared above their heads had flames surging and dancing around it. Not good. If this goes on, it won't be long before the array is broken. Elder Gong Yu of the Heavenly Water Sect hurriedly said. In the battle just now, the third elder of the Heavenly Water Sect had displayed his powerful combat strength. He had blocked the 2 Earth Dragons' interception and rushed out of the battle. Yinran, can you deal with these 2? Li Tianqing could not help but ask. If Qi Yinran could deal with these 2 fire dragons, she could at least deter the other party. Just as the 2 fire dragons were roaring and spitting fire in the sky, another 3 Earth Dragons rushed over and were about to crash into the array formation. Qi Yinran saw this and immediately took action. The desolate heaven essence turned into a long rope. With a whoosh, it tied up the 3 Earth Dragons on the ground. Boom! In the next moment, with a gentle wave of her hand, the 3 Earth Dragons were thrown into the sky like 3 stones. They collided with the 2 fire dragons. This caused the 2 fire dragons to sway around each other. Moreover, the flames in their mouths were directly spat at each other. It was as if they were performing acrobatics in the sky. Boom! The 3 Earth Dragons fell from the sky and were directly crippled. As for the 2 fire dragons, they were also spitting fire at each other. They were also burned very badly. More than 10 fire dragons attacked at the same time. Qi Yinran leaped and flew into the air. She formed a seal with her hand and immediately released a terrifying wave of power. The 5-colored divine light shone brightly. Boom! All the dragons that were touched by the formation suffered different degrees of injuries. They were all injured by Qi Yinran and fell one after another. In the blink of an eye, nearly 20 dragons had fallen in front of the formation. Everyone was also stunned. Looking at Qi Yinran's action, it was simply shocking. That was a member of the colossal dragon clan, yet he was defeated so easily. It was truly terrifying. Just how powerful was this person to be able to do this? When they took a closer look, they realized that this woman was the girl who had been by Li Tianqing's side. It was said that she was Li Zongjio's woman, Evil Lord Li Zongjio. Even a woman by the Evil Lord's side had such powerful means, not to mention the others. If the Evil Lord himself came, these dragons would not be able to survive. Gong Yu's eyes widened. Her eyes were full of shock. She had also exchanged blows with these dragons earlier, so she was well aware of the strength of the dragon clan. Even with her cultivation as a second-grade sovereign, Her all-out attack was still unable to injure the Earth Dragon. She couldn't even break the latter's defense. She was a disciple of the Three-Flower Gathering of the Heavenly Water Sect, so her combat strength was stronger than that of cultivators of the same level. She was better at fighting. These Earth Dragons were at least at the 5th grade Sovereign Realm. However, in front of Qi Yinran, these Earth Dragons were like frogs. They were easily flattened and turned into the current state before them. They were no match for Qi Yinran at all. Even if Qi Yinran wanted to take their lives, it would be a piece of cake. However, Qi Yinran didn't kill them, because Qi Yinran clearly felt it. There were also top experts hidden in the other party's operation this time. The Absolute Saint Realm. Qi Yinran didn't expose her full strength. If she directly attacked and showed her strength, she might be forcibly held back by the other side. At that time, it would be difficult to protect Li Tianqing, and he would definitely be in danger. The most important thing now was not to kill the enemies, but to protect Li Tianqing. That was the most important thing. As for these enemies, after Li Zongjiu came, none of them could escape. Qi Yinran glanced at the mountain in the distance. At the top of the mountain, there were two figures who were also watching the situation here. Then Qi Yinran also withdrew from the fight. Whoosh! When everyone saw Qi Yinran retreat to Li Tianqing's side, their eyes lit up. It was the Li family again. How terrifying. Such a person was sufficient to lead the Saint Flame Empire, to conquer the other empires. The appearance of such a situation naturally caused the rest of the people to become nervous. However, Qi Yinran didn't want to take down this small dynasty at all. After all, in the sacred martial realm, Li Zongjiu had already established a huge dynasty with just a few words. These people probably didn't know how strong Li Zongjiu was. Thanks to Miss Qi's help. Yes, fortunately, there are many experts in the Li family. Otherwise, we would all be trapped here. Can Miss Qi take us out? Heavenly Flame Emperor also said quickly. If they stayed here, they would definitely be trapped to death by the other side. If they couldn't use Qi Yinran's strength to break out of the encirclement now, if Qi Yinran ran away with Li Tianqing later, they wouldn't have any hope left. These people did not even have the last bit of hope. They could only sit there obediently and wait for death. So naturally, they hoped that Qi Yinran could lead them out of this place. Li Tianqing also looked at Qi Yinran. Obviously, he was asking for Qi Yinran's opinion. No, there are two experts outside. I don't know their strength. Qi Yinran shook her head. She refused. If Qi Yinran was alone, she could take a little risk and have a fierce battle with the other side. Although she might not be able to win, if she wanted to leave, Qi Yinran was confident that she could leave easily. But now, she still needed to protect Li Tianqing and the others. If we don't leave now, the situation will be worse when the experts of the Dragon Clan arrive. Sigh. I guess our support troops have been wiped out by the Dragon Clan. Judging from the tactics just now, these Dragon Clan were obviously not wild beasts who fought randomly. Instead, they knew real combat skills. Tianshui Town was probably their last stop. In fact, other places had already been conquered by them, so they concentrated their strength. Then if we continue to wait here, won't we die for sure? Miss Qi, your cultivation is strong. Why don't you take us out of here in batches? Heavenly Flame Emperor said. His position as the Great Emperor had been passed down from generation to generation. It was already too late for his subordinates to stop the Heavenly Flame Great Emperor. They could only shake their heads. This method was simply proposed by an idiot. Did this Heavenly Flame Emperor in front of him have a brain? Why don't we listen to Family Head Li's opinion? Now that the leaders of the three dynasties are gathered here, if all of them fall here, the world will be in chaos. Wan Yonggong of the Haika dynasty said. Heichu Emperor was still young, so he needed Wan Yonggong to deal with these matters. On the other hand, Wan Yulan looked at Qi Yinran curiously. What kind of person was Qi Yinran? How could she have such great ability? How did she cultivate? If Qi Yinran is so strong, then what about Li Zongjiu? Yes, Li Gong, please tell us. I wonder if Li Gong has a solution. Everyone looked at Li Tianqing. Li Tianqing didn't have any solution. The only way was to fight, but he couldn't defeat them now. But Li Tianqing was confident. He had confidence in Li Zongjiu. Don't panic, My son will be here soon. Li Tianqing cupped his fist and said to everyone. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they heard that Li Zongjie was coming. Is this true? Evil Lord will come. Great, we're saved. Evil Lord. Gong Yu's eyes looked towards the horizon. This was a man that seemed to only exist in legends. Chapter 1430. On a distant mountain peak, two figures were standing side by side. It can't be said that they were standing side by side. This was because one of them was very short. At most, he could only reach the shoulder of the person next to him. Therefore, it can be said that they were standing side by side. Although the smaller ones liked to be shorter, their bodies were relatively strong. At this moment, they crossed their arms in front of their chests and stared down with wide eyes. My Earth Dragon clan's warriors were thrown around like sandbags. This short man obviously couldn't believe his eyes. He was also extremely surprised that the three Earth Dragons were easily thrown into the sky by Qi Yinran, and then turned into minced meat when they fell down. You Earth Dragons are living sandbags. What's so strange about it? A red-bearded old man beside him said. It wasn't just his beard that was red. Even his eyes' hair, nose hair, hands and feet hair were all red. Moreover, the red-bearded old man's words were quite impolite. He didn't give the short man any face. Therefore, when the short man heard this, his face couldn't help but be angry. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and kill this little girl. Then kill these people. Otherwise, when Lord Long blames us, I think your beard will be burned off. The short man said. Taking a closer look, although this short man was not tall, his feet were as wide as a box, even bigger than his face. It can be seen that his legs were very powerful. The short man was an expert of the Earth Dragon clan. As for the red-bearded old man, he was obviously an expert of the Fire Dragon clan. As for the identity of the Lord Long that the two were talking about, it was unknown. I heard that an expert has appeared in the human race. I don't know if the Sea Dragon clan's plan succeeded or not. In any case, the two Sea Dragons have already died. The Fire Dragon Elder said. In the face of such a grand revival plan, the two of them obviously became more serious. After all, these things were not a joke. The realm-avoiding pearl won't last for long. I can already feel that someone is probing the realm-avoiding pearl. The shorty from the Earth Dragon clan said. A crystal bead appeared in his hand. At this moment, energy was constantly seeping out of the crystal bead, which was quite shocking. The realm avoidance pearl was a treasure of the Dragon clan. It could temporarily hide a part of the world, making it convenient for killing people. After the deed was done, the Dragon clan could escape without a trace. Therefore, even if these people left the dragon trapping array, they had no place to go. Under this world, they had already been sealed. If they wanted to leave, they would have to destroy the realm avoidance pearl, or leave this world. After the two of them finished speaking, they no longer hesitated. Both of them set off. The elder of the Earth Dragon clan directly lifted his big foot, and then fiercely kicked the formation. Boom! One could clearly sense that the Earth Dragon clan's elder's stomp was about to destroy the array formation. The surrounding mountains were also constantly shaking. The people who were recuperating and waiting for rescue also woke up one after another. They originally thought that this place was temporarily safe. In addition, so many dragons were injured by Qi Yinran and temporarily retreated. As long as they didn't go out, the other party wouldn't dare to kill them directly. After all, there were experts guarding. But now that the other party directly attacked, it meant that they were confident in defeating them. Even Qi Yinran directly opened her eyes. Because at this moment, Qi Yinran also knew that the other party's expert had finally made a move. Just now, Qi Yinran also tried to use her spiritual power to contact Li Zongjie. With Qi Yinran's spiritual power, it wasn't a problem for her to cover half of the Saint Martial continent. After all, she was also an existence of the absolute Saint realm. However, Qi Yinran found that the surrounding world had long been sealed by a powerful force. It was like a magic treasure like the Bell of Chaos, which made it impossible for people to break out. If they wanted to go out, they could only find a way to refine this magic treasure. Then they could control it. Therefore, Qi Yanran also knew that Li Zhongjiu might have to spend more time to find this place, but she didn't tell others about this. Otherwise, she didn't know how these people would react. TSK, you weak humans, don't worry. The surrounding world has been sealed by our Dragon Island's divine weapon, the realm-avoiding bead. The people inside can't go out, and the people outside can't come in. No matter how you struggle, you will only die. The Fire Dragon Tribe Elder said coldly. His voice penetrated the mountain range and the earth, so everyone could hear it clearly. At the same time, the Fire Dragon Tribe Elder waved his hand and injected a stream of energy into the bodies of all the dragons of the Fire Dragon Tribe, healing their injuries. I'll kick again, and this bullshit formation won't be able to withstand it. Now I'll give you a chance. Voluntarily walk out of this formation and submit to the Dragon Tribe. Be my subordinates and you can live. Although the combination of these two people was quite strange, and the Dragon Tribe seemed to be quite sinister and cunning, they actually knew how to use psychological warfare. This made Li Tianqing a little surprised. I didn't expect the Dragon Tribe to be so cunning. However, the words of the two elders of the Dragon Clan also fell into the ears of the others. What? The place we are in is sealed. We can't get out. Then aren't we dead meat? How can this be? I still have a bright future. What does it mean to be sealed? The crowd was noisy, and everyone looked at Qi Yanran again. Miss Qi, is your husband coming or not? If he comes after we die, what's the use of him? That's right. This evil lord is useless at the critical moment. What's the use of him? Miss Qi, why don't you fight with them, kill them all, and then take us out? Why don't we surrender? At least we can keep our lives. In the future, we still have a chance to make a comeback. There were different opinions, and everyone was talking at once. Obviously, these people had also fallen into madness, and even began to speak incoherently. Shut up, all of you. Qi Yanran directly struck out with her palm. The first to be hit was the Tianyan dynasty's monarch. This idiot had been chattering here all day, and no one knew what he was talking about. During the meeting, no one knew what he was talking about. He only knew how to stare at women. Therefore, under Qi Yanran's slap, the Tianyan dynasty's monarch instantly exploded into pieces, and his bones and flesh flew everywhere. She was merciless. Everyone had underestimated Qi Yanran based on her appearance. After all, Qi Yanran's appearance also looked soft and weak, as if she could be blown away by a gust of wind. They didn't expect that Qi Yanran was a terrifying figure who had directly killed millions of fallen clan members. These people still dared to talk in front of Qi Yanran. This made Qi Yanran angry. She killed him as soon as she made a move, and her eyes seemed to be telling the others that if anyone else made a fuss, they would all die together. Immediately, everyone stopped talking. They just stared at Qi Yanran in front of them, and at the place where their monarch died. They wanted to blame Qi Yanran, but no words came out of their mouths. They didn't dare to make a sound. They just stared at Qi Yanran with anger in their eyes. The Li family had gone too far. They just relied on their strength to murder their monarch in public. When they went back, they must bring these people to justice. But they just thought about it. Even if they wanted to unite with others to rebel, no one would care about them at all. However, within the Tianyan dynasty, these sect elders had the final say. The dynasty's jurisdiction was actually very weak, and it only played a representative role. It could be understood that it was specially used to take the blame. That was why it could survive until now. After waiting for everyone to calm down, Qi Yanran also got up and walked out of the array. In fact, it didn't have any effect on the array. The other party was right. One more kick, and it would be directly broken. Seeing the valiant human girl appear, the two elders of the Dragon Clan also became dignified, because they all knew that the human girl in front of them was not simple. Chapter 1431. Immediately, the two of them descended and stood 50 meters away from Qi Yanran. Are you here to surrender, or are you here to seek death? The Fire Dragon Tribe Elder asked. Qi Yanran sized up the two of them. It was only a matter of time before they appeared. Moreover, Qi Yanran also wanted to find a way to break through the Realm Avoidance Pearl in the upcoming battle. Otherwise, everyone would be in danger. The desolate heaven essence in her hand gently shook, and a faint light power was integrated into it. Although the desolate heaven essence still looked soft and fluttering, it now contained an extremely sharp light. Just a gentle touch was enough to break their defenses. The way they were preparing for war was already a response. If that's the case, then die. The fire dragon tribe elder waved his hands and formed a fireball in front of him. With a wave of his hand, he instantly rushed towards Qi Yinran. The desolate heaven essence was thrown out. However, the other party's fireball turned around and dodged Qi Yinran's attack. With a boom, it smashed into where Qi Yinran was. Boom! The resulting explosive energy could be described as destructive. Just the aftermath of the heat wave was enough to melt the formation that Li Tianqing and the others were in. When the surrounding flames dissipated, a deep pit nearly 100 feet deep appeared below. It was bottomless. It penetrated extremely deeply. In fact, there was even a raging fire burning in the deep pit. The fire dragon tribe elder naturally knew that it was impossible for the other party to be hit by him so easily. The next moment, a white light flashed in front of him. Whoosh! This white light was the desolate heaven essence. It directly covered his eyes, and at the same time, sealed all his senses. It was as if he was instantly subdued by the other party. The desolate heaven essence completely entangled the other party, making it impossible for the other party to dodge. Just as Qi Yinran was about to kill the person in front of her with a blow. But suddenly, a terrifying force came from behind him. The Earth Dragon tribe elder had already lifted his large foot and was about to step on Qi Yinran. Qi Yinran could only use a palm to meet the other party's attack. Boom! Qi Yinran and the Earth Dragon tribe elder retreated at the same time. Third grade absolute saint. The moment they touched, Qi Yinran knew that the other's cultivation was at the third level of the ultimate saint realm. The other party had yet to reveal his true form. When he revealed his true form, due to his unique bloodline, his strength would still be able to keep up. At the very least, he would be able to fight against a fourth stage absolute saint. Your defense is quite strong. Let's see how many kicks you can take. The elder of the Earth Dragon clan felt like he had finally found a worthy opponent. He immediately stood up. He continued to attack Qi Yinran. Not only was the Earth Dragon clan's elder's attack powerful, but it was also extremely fast. Bang bang bang. Qi Yinran was able to block the continuous attacks. It looked like they were evenly matched. However, this elder of the Earth Dragon clan felt that Qi Yinran had not yet used her full strength. At that moment, the Fire Dragon elder, who was trapped by the desolate heaven essence, finally spat out a flame at himself, allowing him to be reborn. Boom! Qi Yinran extended her hand and beckoned, summoning the desolate heaven essence back. Along with the flames of a fire dragon race elder, it directly burned over. Whoosh! The roaring flames were like an army of thousands of men and horses. Divine Vermilion Palm. Qi Yinran circulated her yuan qi and slammed her palm down. It was like a peacock's feather floating down. With a boom, the two forces collided. The sky seemed to be torn apart by this force. Qi Yinran looked up at the sky and felt like it was about to be torn apart. Immediately, a plan came to her mind. Green Bird Dao Platform. A green light appeared behind Qi Yinran, turning into a pair of wings that spread out and rushed into the sky. Boom! Her speed was extremely fast, as if she had transformed into a beam of light. Oh no! She wants to break the seal of the Realm Avoidance Pearl. Seeing this, the Fire Dragon clan elder immediately shouted. At the same time, Qi Yinran's speed was too fast, so the Fire Dragon clan elder immediately transformed. After that, he transformed into a giant dragon with wings that were at least 1,000 feet wide. As his body expanded, his speed was raised to the peak. And with a flap of his wings, a ring of fire formed behind him, bringing him into the sky at an even faster speed. Fire Dragon Whirlwind. The Fire Dragon clan elder mustered all his strength and released a big move. Immediately, the power of the flaming whirlwind swept directly into the sky. At this moment, Qi Yinran's figure also shook at this moment. Her speed increased again, and she actually disappeared. As a result, the Fire Dragon clan elder's move missed and directly blasted into the sky. But there seemed to be a transparent barrier in the sky. In the midst of the tumbling, there was a trace of a red feeling. But at least there was already a signal. Oh no, this bitch. She actually tricked me. Seeing this scene, the first elder of the fire dragon tribe immediately understood that Qi Yinran was using his own power to create a disturbance. When a flame shot up into the sky, Li Yinmu's eyes lit up. Li Zhongjiu, who was flying in the sky, also immediately noticed this. So she used this kind of magic treasure. Li Zhongjiu immediately focused his attention on this world. Chaos Bell. Because no matter how he searched with his mental power, there was no way to find any flaws. So Li Zhongjiu also decided to make a move directly. With the power of the Chaos Bell, it was enough to force the other party out. Like a cannonball, the Chaos Bell quickly rushed forward, rampaging in the air. Suddenly, the Chaos Bell felt that it had hit something. Its movement was blocked. After Li Zhongjiu saw it, his figure flashed and came in front of the Chaos Bell. At this moment, in the realm of the Realm Avoidance Pearl, the two elders of the Dragon Tribe and Qi Yinran had also seen the Bell of Chaos. However, the Chaos Bell seemed to be stuck on it. What? The thing that they were worried about finally happened. But neither of them expected that the other party would come so quickly. They had just exposed their aura and had already made a move. Big brother, you're too fast. When Qi Yinran saw the Chaos Bell, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. It's not too late for you to leave now. If you don't leave, it'll be too late for regrets. The two elders naturally didn't take Qi Yinran's words to heart. After all, they often used this kind of psychological tactic. It was nothing special. It was just to scare people. How powerful could it be? In the next moment, the Chaos Bell broke the barrier created by the Realm Avoidance Pearl. Li Zhongjiu stepped on the Chaos Bell and appeared in the sky. When Li Tianqing on the ground saw Li Zhongjiu, he also pointed directly at the sky. Look, my son is here. Chapter 1432. The two elders of the Dragon Tribe also looked directly at the figure in the sky. Immediately, their eyes were extremely gloomy. They looked at each other and could not help but directly clench the weapons in their hands. Facing Li Zhongjiu's gaze, there seemed to be a kind of coldness that came from the bones. Li Zhongjiu stepped on the Bell of Chaos and stared at the people below. The first person he saw was Qi Yinran, who was in good condition at the moment. After the green bird platform appeared, it was enough to ensure that Qi Yinran was in an invincible position. The two elders of the Dragon Tribe on the other side had also revealed their true forms. Their strength could be said to have reached the peak of their own strength. When Qi Yinran saw Li Zhongjiu coming, she knew that this matter was about to be resolved. She immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Because she had to protect so many people, Qi Yinran was a little nervous. After all, if she were to devote herself to the battle, it would definitely cause Qi Yinran to miss a lot of opportunities. There were also many dragons entrenched in the surroundings. Although the experts of the Sky Water sect could temporarily resist, in the case of a large number of dragons, they would definitely not be able to hold on. Li Tianqing and the others also saw the person in the sky. Immediately, there was a kind of light of hope in their eyes. Is that evil lord? What a powerful aura. What a strong aura. Many people had not seen Li Zhongjiu before. They had only heard of Li Zhongjiu's name. However, after hearing this name for a long time, although they were familiar with it, at most, they would only know that this person was powerful in their own consciousness. As for how powerful he was, they would not know. In fact, as time went on, they would forget more and more. He's stronger than before. The eyes of Elder Gongyu of the Sky Water sect were also shining. After all, the aura that Li Zhongjiu displayed at this moment was many times stronger than when he was dealing with the Ten Swords sect. In front of Li Zhongjiu, the Ten Swords sect was at most a pile of trash. It was impossible for them to resist Li Zhongjiu's sharpness. He didn't even deserve to stand in front of Li Zhongjiu. In just a few years, Li Zhongjiu's growth had become so terrifying. Although Gongyu also had a breakthrough in her strength, it was impossible for her to be compared with Li Zhongjiu. He was truly a terrifying fellow. A few years ago, Li Zongjiu had also treated Gong Yu to a bowl of noodles. At that time, Gong Yu only felt that it was a little strange. Later on, in the process of cultivation, she often thought of this bowl of noodles and could truly find peace in her heart. It was also because of this bowl of noodles that Gong Yu's later cultivation, although sometimes it was fast and sometimes it was slow, her progress was very fast, which was very surprising. He had never thought that such a good thing would happen. Although Li Zongjiu did not give her much guidance at that time, but this kind of behavior had really benefited her a lot, and it was quite shocking. So today she could have such a powerful strength. When she saw Li Zongjiu again, he was already unfathomable. If they met 3 years ago, Gong Yu would at least have the courage to talk to Li Zongjiu face to face. Now it was impossible. Under Li Zongjiu's powerful and dazzling brilliance, she could only quietly hide her aura. "Are you all right?" Li Zongjiu came in front of Qi Yanran and asked. He even directly turned his back to the 2 elders of the dragon clan, and did not put the 2 elders in his eyes at all. Although the other party used the realm-avoiding pearl to directly cover the space in front of them, which made Li Zongjiu waste a little effort to find them, it showed that these people had the ability to do so. If he really faced the 2 elders of the dragon clan, it would be easy to kill them. "It's all right. You deal with them, and I will protect Uncle," Qi Yanran said. "Okay, go ahead." Immediately, Qi Yanran descended. She came to Li Tianqing's side. "How is it? Can this kid handle it?" Li Tianqing asked. "If this kid can't handle it, it would be a disgrace to him. He would have to beat this kid up when he went back." "Don't worry," Qi Yanran said. "If Li Zongjiu can't handle it, then in the entire Xingwu continent, there was really no one who could." Unknowingly, Li Zongjiu had once again become an existence that stood at the pinnacle of this continent. There was no longer anyone who could go against Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu had no choice but to make a move against these powerful foreign races. This was one of the troubles of the experts. When facing these things, you have to take action. You are the strongest existence in the human clan. If anyone wants to attack the human clan, then first they must kill Li Zongjiu. "Is it just the 2 of you?" Only then did Li Zongjiu turn to look at the 2 dragon clan elders. He asked calmly. He didn't look down on the 2 dragons in front of him, because Li Zongjiu didn't put them in his eyes at all. "You are the evil lord of the human clan?" The fire dragon clan elder saw Li Zongjiu. Just now, the 2 of them also wanted to sneak attack, but they gave up after thinking about it. They couldn't see the real situation of Li Zongjiu. Now the realm avoidance pearl was broken. The 2 of them might not have a chance of winning against Qi Yanran. Now that there was a stronger Li Zongjiu, it was even more nerve-wracking. However, the Earth Dragon Clan elder was smart. He had already released a signal and used his Dragon Clan's special soul transmission to pass the news of this place to Dragon Island. Now the experts of their Dragon Clan were rushing over quickly. As long as the experts arrived in time, they would be able to kill Li Zongjiu in front of them and completely wipe out this group of elites of the human clan in front of them. After getting rid of these people, they could just sit back and wait for the human clan to kill each other. When the world was in chaos, the Dragon Clan only needed to choose a random faction to support, and it would be easy to settle. Ruling such a continent was a very simple matter for them. In their plan, they could even surpass the human clan in less than half a year, and become the true ruler of the human clan. "Yes, I am the evil lord," Li Zongjiu said. "Since you want to wait, then I will wait with you. Let's see how many people your dragon clan can send today." Li Zongjiu didn't kill the other party. He wasn't in a hurry to do so. The woman from the dragon penitentiary, Long Ji, had contacted him before. Li Zongjiu was a little surprised. Obviously, there were differences within the dragon clan. One side wanted to invade the mainland, while the other side wanted to maintain the status quo of Dragon Island. They didn't have any intention of fighting for supremacy. Therefore, there was a competitive relationship between the 2 factions. Previously, when Long Ji left in a hurry, Li Zongjiu also realized that there might be a problem with the faction left behind by the Dragon Clan. As expected of the Evil Lord, "You have guts. Why don't your Excellency Evil Lord cooperate with our Dragon Clan and conquer the world. The elder of the fire dragon tribe actually transformed back into his human form. At the very least, he would be more amiable when communicating with Li Zongjiu like this. Bribing Li Zongjiu? For the dragon clan, this kind of thing was allowed. As long as they could achieve their ultimate goal, they could just kill Li Zongjiu after they succeeded in the future. The dragon clan was also very good at this kind of killing the donkey after it had outlived its usefulness. For many years, the dragon clan had been cultivating. Usually, they didn't need to cultivate much to be able to directly possess powerful strength. Therefore, these dragon clan members also began to learn. He had also done some research on the military strategies of the human race. The ambition of the dragon clan was also constantly expanding. Therefore, now the dragon clan had become as cunning as the human clan. But just this little trick alone, anyone with a brain would be able to see that this was clearly a trick. Who would fall for it? You'd better think about where you'll be buried after you die, Li Zongjiu said. This sentence directly choked the two dragon clan elders to death. It was as if the conversation was on a completely different channel. How do you think people can communicate with each other? There was no way to communicate at all. The experts of the dragon clan also came very quickly. Boom! In the sky, there was a sudden clap of thunder. The eyes of the two elders of the dragon tribe were filled with surprise and joy. Thunder Dragon Clan Leader. Chapter 1433. There were countless branches of the dragon clan on Dragon Island, but there were only a few truly powerful branches. They were very powerful and had a large number of clans. The few dragon clan members who cultivated the mainstream attribute power were often very powerful branches. At this moment, the patriarch of the Thunder Dragon clan arrived. Immediately, the two experts of the dragon clan were overjoyed. At least with the presence of the patriarch of the Thunder Dragon clan, they would be safer. They did not expect that the dignified dragon clan would be so fearful and cowardly in front of Li Zongjiu. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. They were really aggrieved. Even though they had not really fought with Li Zongjiu, both of them could clearly feel the terrifying aura of Li Zongjiu's body. The dark thunderclouds in the sky were rolling over. It seemed to want to use the layers of thunder and lightning to shatter the sky. Such a terrifying aura also made Li Zongjiu look askance. Thick black thunderbolts alternated between the thunderclouds and covered the sky. It gave people a feeling as if the end of the world had arrived. Li Tianqing and the others could not help but be surprised. The rest of the people also subconsciously moved closer to Qi Yanran. After all, Qi Yanran seemed to be at ease when she fought against the two dragon clan elders alone. The powerful strength she displayed was enough to make these people feel safe. If something really happened, even if the aftermath of the battle fell, at least there would be no problem behind Qi Yanran. Go! Qi Yanran was also worried that the aftermath of the battle would directly kill the people below. Therefore, the green bird platform in her hand instantly flew out, and then turned into a 5-colored defensive shield, forming a semicircle and surrounding everyone in it. Then it gradually faded away. My defensive shield is indestructible, so you don't have to worry, Qi Yanran said. After all, these people directly came over, and were a little too close to her. Everyone also realized this. Since it was said that this thing was indestructible, they believed Qi Yanran for the time being, and their hearts relaxed slightly. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck the sky. Then, the light of lightning from all directions quickly gathered in this direction. Finally, it formed a figure in front of the two elders of the dragon tribe. Compared to the two elders of the dragon clan, the Thunder Dragon tribe's patriarch, who had just appeared, was in high spirits. It was quite dazzling, and the bluish-purple armor on its body seemed to be releasing a kind of surging lightning. It was obvious that a lot of thought had been put into this outfit. You two old things, you can't even deal with a human brat, and you want me to come here personally? The temper of the Lightning Dragon tribe's patriarch was clearly even more irritable. Moreover, he didn't give them any face at all. In the world of the dragon race, strength was revered. Whoever was stronger was the heavens, whoever was the boss. The two dragon elders didn't dare to refute. After the Thunder Dragon Patriarch scolded, he looked at Li Zhongjiu. It seems that you are the one who has been causing trouble all this time. I have been looking for you for a long time. I don't know how many times you can block my heaven and earth sky destroying thunder. The Thunder Dragon Tribe's Patriarch didn't talk much nonsense. When he saw Li Zhongjiu's disrespectful attitude, he raised his hand, and there was power surging in his palm. Boom! As the Thunder Dragon Tribe's Patriarch raised his hand, the thunderclouds in the sky directly condensed power, and then a few angry thunderbolts fell from the sky. Boom! Li Zhongjiu stood in place and watched the thunderbolts fall. It just so happened that his body of evil god hadn't moved for a long time, and it felt a little rusty. Boom! He didn't have any intention to defend himself and let the heaven and earth sky destroying thunder fall on his body. Boom! As the heaven and earth sky destroying thunder entered his body, Li Zhongjiu only felt a slight numbness. It was as if there were countless hands massaging him and loosening his bones. The lightning dispersed. He was unharmed. Even all the power of lightning was absorbed by Li Zhongjiu. At this moment, all the power of light was in Li Zhongjiu's body. It gradually rose and fell. Li Zhongjiu's body also easily refined it. Anything else? Li Zhongjiu asked calmly. At this moment, the Thunder Dragon Tribe's Patriarch was furious. Are you looking down on me? Lowly human race. You don't know the vastness of the power between heaven and earth. Today, I will let you see a true god. The Thunder Dragon Tribe's Patriarch roared. There was also a bright light in his body. This was the power of the Dragon Pearl. The Thunder Dragon Tribe's Patriarch was very powerful. He directly refined his Dragon Pearl into a weapon. He was already in the state of one with the weapon. After refining it into a weapon, it would be even more powerful and terrifying. As the Thunder Dragon Pearl appeared, the clouds in the sky changed color again. Not only that, as the clouds changed, there was also a gust of wind blowing. As the gust of wind surged, even the surrounding mountains felt as if they were about to be blown away. Such a gust of wind almost blew the mountains apart. Although the people below were still in the defensive shield, it was still calm. However, when they saw the blurry scene outside, they knew that there was a drastic change happening outside. It seems that the person who just came is stronger. He is even more terrifying. I don't know if Evil Lord can take him down. Please don't. A Tianyan dynasty official couldn't help but say. After all, he was timid and didn't want to die. Now that he saw such a situation, he couldn't help but feel nervous. Immediately, everyone looked over. What is this person trying to do? How dare you curse my son? Li Tianqing was furious on the spot. He couldn't defeat the dragons outside, but he couldn't defeat a mere civil official from the imperial court. Immediately, Li Tianqing pushed the crowd aside and rushed up to give the other party a good beating. However, it was just a combination of punches and kicks. However, the people around them had some foresight. After seeing Li Tianqing hit him twice, they quickly stepped forward and pulled him away. Duke, please calm down. Even Emperor Xingyan went up and pulled Li Tianqing down. Li Tianqing immediately took advantage of the situation. He couldn't really beat him to death. If he did, it would indeed be a bit of a bully. However, since he couldn't even speak, it was only right for him to beat him up twice. Li Tianqing's punches weren't light. In just a few hits, the other party's nose was bleeding. It was a small lesson. Although the Tianyan dynasty's monarch was killed, a new one would soon be promoted. With the support of the Sky Water sect, the Tianyan dynasty wouldn't decline. It wouldn't be easy for the other two dynasties to take down the Tianyan dynasty. After all, in the Tianyan dynasty, there were many sects and each of them had their own camps. At the same time, these sects had existed for a long time, even longer than some dynasties. It would take a lot of effort to defeat them. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch, who had summoned the Dragon Ball, once again released a big move. The dark clouds in the sky had already formed into a tornado. It directly descended and surrounded Li Zhongjiu and Yi Shiwen at the same time. Even the two elders of the Dragon clan were pushed back by this aura. In the face of this aura, the two elders of the Dragon tribe were so shocked that their jaws dropped. Too strong this momentum. It seems that the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's strength can be ranked in the top 5 in the Heavenly Dragon Hall. He's almost on par with the 4 patriarchs. Heavenly Dragon Hall. It was similar to the Hall of the Exalted. It had the ranking of the experts in the Dragon Clan. Therefore, when they saw the Thunder Dragon Patriarch personally appear here, the 2 elders felt lucky. With their strength, they were still far away from the Hall of the Exalted. In the black vortex cloud, Li Zongjio was being torn apart by the wind and bombarded by the lightning. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch had also released the power of the Dragon Ball to the extreme. He was determined to kill this arrogant brat. Chapter 1434. However, the Thunder Dragon Patriarch was a little confused now. This was because Li Zongjio's body was like an endless box that absorbed all the power of thunder and lightning released by him. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch was also quite familiar with the cultivation technique he was using. How do you know the cultivation technique of the Golden Dragon tribe? The Thunder Dragon Patriarch was shocked after carefully analyzing it. He discovered that the cultivation technique Li Zongjio was using was actually the cultivation technique of the Golden Dragon tribe. However, Li Zongjio had modified the cultivation technique of the Golden Dragon tribe in his own way to make it more suitable for humans to cultivate. However, when this aura was released, it was still very familiar. It was impossible to miss this. Wasn't Li Zongjio a human? How could he have the cultivation technique of the Dragon tribe? These were the secrets of the Dragon tribe. Even in the Dragon tribe, not everyone could cultivate them. Not everyone had that kind of qualification. What Li Zongjio cultivated was obviously a secret that belonged to the Dragon clan and was not passed on. Such a high-level mental cultivation method had actually been obtained by the human tribe and created such a top expert. Could the Golden Dragon tribe be a traitor? However, Li Zongjio didn't waste time talking to the Thunder Dragon Patriarch and answering his question. Instead, he continued to absorb this power to strengthen his body. After the power of the Dragon Ball appeared, Li Zongjio felt a slight pain. At least, it could bring a certain effect to his body. Otherwise, some ordinary power wouldn't have the slightest effect on Li Zongjio. The stronger one was, the more difficult it was to achieve the effect of tempering the body. You asked for it, Natal Dragon Lightning. Suddenly, a strong beam of light shot into the sky from within the black storm clouds. Just the appearance of this beam of light instantly illuminated the entire sky. A powerful force was seeping out and seemed to burn a black hole tens of thousands of meters in the sky. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch directly burst out with his body. As soon as his body appeared, he opened his mouth and spat a bolt of lightning at Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio felt the strength of this power. Originally, he wanted to dodge. However, this was a rare opportunity. He could use it to raise his cultivation base. Boom! Li Zongjio faced this move head-on. Immediately, Li Zongjio's body was directly electrocuted by the lightning. At the same time, his skin and flesh felt like it was about to evaporate in an instant. The surface of Li Zongjio's skin was indeed evaporated by this power. But in the next moment, the power of chaos directly reshaped Li Zongjio's body again. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch's strength. However, it was still far from enough to kill Li Zongjio. The black Dragon Ball of the Dragon Patriarch's hand. When the Thunder Dragon Patriarch saw that Li Zongjio was still unscathed, and had even summoned a pitch-black hammer, he was shocked. The latter's eyes obviously shrank a little when he saw it. His expression instantly turned into one of shock. This is the 10,000 Dragon Hammer. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch had a lot of experience. To be able to have today's strength and status, he was also quite capable. When he saw the Black Dragon Hammer appear, he already felt a strong sense of danger and oppression. This was the 10,000 Dragon Hammer that had once killed tens of thousands of dragons. How could it be in Li Zongjio's hands? It had clearly disappeared and was buried in a corner of the continent. Now it actually appeared again. Li Zongjio had never figured out the origin of the hammer in his hand, but the latter was very useful. So Li Zongjio also kept this Black Dragon Hammer. But now, it could be said that this was the first time he heard the name of this hammer. From what the Thunder Dragon Patriarch said, this hammer seemed to be called 10,000 Dragon Hammer. When he heard this name, he already knew that this hammer wasn't simple. Its origin wasn't simple. As for its origin, although Li Zongjie was a little interested, he didn't have to figure it out. It was fine as long as it could be used. Li Zongjie waved the black dragon hammer in his hand and smashed it forward. Boom! Just one hammer was enough to shake heaven and earth. Immediately, this powerful force directly blasted towards the Thunder Dragon Patriarch. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch immediately dodged the force of the Black Dragon Hammer. If he was hit directly by the Black Dragon Hammer, he would lose a layer of skin, even if he didn't die. Therefore, the Thunder Dragon Patriarch quickly dodged. However, Li Zongjie's figure flashed and directly appeared behind the Thunder Dragon Patriarch. He stepped on the back of the Thunder Dragon Patriarch. The Lightning Dragon Tribe's Patriarch was quite nervous when his foot landed. He crazily unleashed the power of lightning in his body. At the same time, his body spun rapidly as he wanted to throw Li Zongjie behind him away. However, Li Zongjie split open the defense of the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's body with one hand. He firmly grasped the Thunder Dragon Patriarch. Then, the Black Dragon Hammer smashed down with all his might. Boom! The Black Dragon Hammer directly hit the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's back. Immediately, the Thunder Dragon Patriarch roared in anger. He let out a very painful sound. "I've tried your lightning. You should try mine too." Li Zongjie raised the Black Dragon Hammer in his hand to the sky. Immediately, a purple heavenly lightning was summoned and struck down from the sky. It broke through layers of clouds and fell on the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's body. The power of lightning and the power of the Black Dragon Hammer in Li Zongjie's hand directly smashed the Black Dragon Patriarch to the ground. Roar! The Thunder Dragon Patriarch was still in extreme pain. Li Zongjie did not stop his movements and continued to smash the Black Dragon Hammer. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch's head was smashed into a bloody mess. "Looks like you're not that good." Li Zongjie's strength was enough to easily break the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's defense. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch had never met such an invincible person who could easily take him down. Moreover, he could not resist Li Zongjie's attack. Previously, Li Zongjie had let him make the first move. However, none of them were able to harm Li Zongjie at all. Then, he could not blame Li Zongjie. After all, even if he went all out, he could only give Li Zongjie the feeling of massaging his back. After a fierce beating, then Li Zongjie directly broke the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's body. He stretched out his hand, and the Thunder Dragon Pearl was immediately sucked out by Li Zongjie. Roar! The Thunder Dragon Patriarch had completely lost his strength to struggle. "You! Who are you?" The Thunder Dragon Patriarch used his last bit of strength to stare at Li Zongjie. Originally, Li Zongjie should have been shattered by his Dragon Pearl. After all, the strength of his Dragon Pearl was not something that a weak human could control with his hands. At this moment, Li Zongjie easily broke his body and grabbed the Dragon Pearl in his hand. This really shocked the Thunder Dragon Patriarch. "Me, evil lord." After Li Zongjie finished speaking, he directly smashed the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's head with his hammer. Immediately, the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's vision turned black. He was smashed to death. Li Zongjie looked at the wild wind that was still blowing in the surroundings. He gently raised his hand and pressed down, and the storm calmed down. At this moment, Elder Di Long and Elder Huolong were also trying their best to stretch their necks and look inside. However, the wind was so strong that even they could not see clearly. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch's strength was too strong. Even they would not be able to break through the chi that was formed. But now, the dust seemed to have settled. Within a radius of 1,000 meters, there was not a single intact stone. All of them were shattered by the momentum of the battle just now. As the wind and waves calmed down, even Qi Yanran and the others came over. However, Qi Yanran had already sensed it. "Zongjie killed that guy," Qi Yanran said faintly. He seemed to be narrating a very ordinary matter. However, the surrounding people's eyes lit up when they heard this. There was actually such a thing. Did he really kill the person? If this was the case, then it would be great. Not good. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch was killed. Elder Di Long saw a corpse on the ground. His eyes widened. The Thunder Dragon Patriarch was dead? He was killed just like that. Not only the two elders of the Dragon clan, but also the person in his dragon form standing behind them. Zizi. A bolt of lightning jumped in Li Zhongjiu's hand. Then Elder Di Long and the others looked over. That's the Thunder Dragon Patriarch's Dragon Pearl. Chapter 1435. The two elders looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They believed that even if the leader of the Thunder Dragon tribe wasn't a match for the person before them, if he wanted to escape, there weren't many people in the world who could stop him. Even if they were both experts of the Heavenly Dragon Hall, it would be extremely difficult for them to stop the leader of the Thunder Dragon tribe. At the very least, the two of them would need to work together. However, Li Zhongjiu had killed the leader of the Thunder Dragon tribe single-handedly just like that. This was the thing that shocked the both of them. Not good. Bring back all the news here. Let's retreat. Elder Huolong said immediately. After saying that, he didn't care about his image, and was the first to transform. Then he flapped his wings and flew towards the sky. After transforming, his speed was relatively faster. Therefore, his escape speed was relatively fast. Boom! However, Elder Huolong realized that after he flapped his wings, his tail seemed to be grabbed by someone. No matter how hard he tried to fly, he couldn't fly. When did I say that you guys can leave? The moment Li Zhongjiu's voice landed, he pulled the fire dragon hard. Immediately, the other party was placed on the ground by Li Zhongjiu. He smashed a huge hole in the ground. If not for the fact that the ground wasn't as hard as the other party's body, he reckoned that the fire dragon would have been crippled by the fall. Even so, Li Zhongjiu's strength was enough to make Elder Huolong fall. For a moment he couldn't get up. After flapping his wings a few times, he fell to the ground again, as though he was drunk. The other fire dragons wanted to fly up into the sky again. Li Zhongjiu summoned the Bell of Chaos. Dong! Using the power of chaos, the Bell of Chaos rang out. Immediately, an ancient and pure sound of the bell rang in the ears of these fire dragons. They fell from the sky one after another. As for the Earth Dragon tribe, they basically couldn't fly. However, their running speed wasn't slow either. However, Li Zhongjiu rang the Bell of Chaos in his hands once more. At this moment, the Earth Dragons that were running wildly fell to the ground instantly. Scram! Rumble! Then, the Bell of Chaos began to harvest these giant dragons. Of course, Li Zhongjiu did not kill all of them. Instead, he stored them all into the Bell of Chaos. There was a small world within the Chaos Bell. With Li Zhongjiu's mastery of the Chaos Bell, he was able to unleash its power even more. By throwing these dragons into the Bell of Chaos, they would be able to form a large scale. Without Li Zhongjiu's control, these dragons would not be able to come out. If he could subdue all of these dragons in the future, a huge dragon army could be commanded and controlled by him. Most of the time it was convenient. Furthermore, Li Zhongjiu was rather interested in the dragon race. Under the Bell of Chaos, all the dragons could not escape, including the Earth Dragon clan's elder. There were a total of 15 Earth Dragons. There were a total of 12 Fire Dragons. They were all sucked into the Bell of Chaos. Although the surrounding mountains had been severely damaged, fortunately, there were not many people in such a place, so only some of the mountains were destroyed. It was not a big loss. Seeing the sky clear up again, Qi Yanran waved her hand and removed the green bird platform. The green bird platform in her hand was a very powerful magic treasure. There were still many functions that had not been fully developed, but just what it could do now was already very powerful. It was hard to imagine who had created such a powerful magic treasure. Li Zhongjiu landed directly in front of his father. Father, I'm late. That's good, that's good. Where did you put those dragons? Li Tianqing was very curious. There were dozens of giant dragons just now, but they disappeared just like that. In the blink of an eye, they seemed to have been blown away by the wind. They were all stored in the Bell of Chaos. Here, Li Zhongjiu stretched out his hand. A miniature version of the Bell of Chaos appeared in the palm of his hand for Li Tianqing to see. A small Bell of Chaos, such a small thing, had actually sucked in more than 30 giant dragons. It was a little too powerful. Everyone was amazed. Master, you're back. Emperor Shengyan also came in front of Li Zhongjiu at this time and bowed. Previously, Li Zhongjiu had also accepted the latter as a disciple for convenience. Although Li Zhongjiu did not teach the current Emperor Xingyan much, the latter had the inheritance of the Saturn Palace, so his cultivation speed was not bad. At a young age, he had already entered the primitive emperor realm. It was estimated that he would be able to enter the supremacy realm before the age of 50. Compared to other people, it was already a very strong talent. With the help of some other medicinal herbs, heaven and earth treasures, it would definitely be able to shorten this time. It was really very powerful. You did well. Li Zhongjiu praised Emperor Xingyan verbally. The current emperor of the Xingyan dynasty was above millions of people. Unexpectedly, in front of Li Zhongjiu, he was very careful, and it was not an exaggeration to say that he was humble. It could be said that Li Zhongjiu's status had already reached the peak. However, it was obvious that Li Zhongjiu did not feel much about these things. As long as these people were sensible and did not provoke him, it was fine. Suemo, you're here too. Li Zhongjiu saw Suemo. I didn't expect you to be the commander of the Vermilion Bird Army now. You should have been a commander earlier. Suemo thought that Li Zhongjiu had long forgotten about her. After all, the two of them only had the energy to adventure in the Sky Blaze Mountain in the early days. Although later on, they met in the palace. But they also said goodbye in a hurry. In the blink of an eye they parted. Suemo did not expect Li Zhongjiu to still remember Suemo. This also surprised Suemo. They really do know each other. Emperor Xingyan breathed a sigh of relief. Back then, it was because he vaguely knew that there was a layer of relationship between them, that he promoted Suemo and kept her by his side. It seemed that this was the right move. Emperor Xingyan originally wanted to directly bring Suemo into the harem. But now that he saw the relationship between Li Zhongjiu and Suemo, he gave up on this idea. If he married Suemo, not only would he not be able to use Suemo to make use of Li Zhongjiu, but he would also offend Suemo because of him. Li Zhongjiu would very likely kill him for Suemo's sake. For Li Zhongjiu, it was very easy for him to change the emperor of the Xingyan dynasty. It was not like he had not done this before. Yanran, come here. This is my good friend Suemo. You haven't met before, right? Li Zhongjiu introduced Qi Yanran to Suemo's sister-in-law as so beautiful. You're so lucky. Suemo said. He had never had any romantic feelings for Li Zhongjiu. He was just happy for his good brother Li Zhongjiu. Master, what should we do next? Emperor Xingyan also reminded him at this time. After all, there were so many people who were left here. There had to be something to do. Today's shocking scene was quite a rich experience for them. You guys go and do your own things. Just do what you should do. Li Zhongjiu said. Li Zhongjiu was not interested in these people's affairs, nor was he interested in leading this group of idiots. In Li Zhongjiu's opinion, these people were just a group of idiots. They could be of some use, and that was to make the people rich. If they couldn't make the people rich, Li Zhongjiu didn't mind getting rid of these useless idiots. Just as Li Zhongjiu was talking, 3 powerful auras came from the sky again. The 3 gigantic wind thunder divine eagles seemed to be riding on the power of wind and thunder. When they sensed the approaching power, everyone raised their heads and looked over. Furthermore, he looked nervous. Could it be that another expert had come from somewhere? The 3 elders of Sparrow Divine Palace landed. Greetings, Palace Master, Evil Lord. The 3 elders bowed. These 3 are the elders of Sparrow Divine Palace. If you don't understand anything, you can ask them. Qi Yanran obviously wanted Sparrow Divine Palace to be involved in this. The Vermilion Bird Divine Palace was also responsible for this matter. The 3 elders had been flying all the way. When they sensed the fluctuations of the Dragon Clan's battle, they quickly rushed over. However, the battle ended very quickly. Although it was difficult for the 3 elders to face the strength of the elders of the Dragon Clan, it could even be said that they were useless. However, ordinary Dragon Clan members couldn't do much in front of them. After all, they were in the honorable realm. Yes, Palace Master. Since Qi Yanran had given the order, the 3 elders were naturally willing to help and get more information. When the others saw that the 3 elders had joined, they were very happy. After all, the aura of any one of the 3 elders was enough to crush everyone present. Gong Yu was the clearest about this. She could feel the unshakable power from the three elders. Not only the three elders, but even the wind thunder divine eagles that they were riding just now also revealed a powerful aura. Chapter 1436. At this moment, the situation in the continent was like a small boat in a storm. Under the wind and rain, it could capsize at any time. Fortunately, there were experts like Li Zongjio. There were situations where the situation was reversed. The Sparrow Divine Palace had officially announced that they had joined the human race. The Dragon Clan must be under great pressure. Now Li Zongjio directly used the Chaos Bell to subdue these dozens of dragons. As long as Li Zongjio was willing, he could easily kill these dragons trapped in the Chaos Bell. However, these dragons were no longer a threat. For Li Zongjio, it didn't matter if he killed them or not. When the time came, he would treat these dragons as coolies and sell them to make a good profit. Li Zongjio and Qi Yinran walked together with Li Tianqing. They took a stroll and chatted. Li Tianqing didn't expect that there would be such peace in such a chaotic world. These dragons. Li Tianqing was naturally very worried about these dragons at this moment. After all, the dragons were too powerful. Except for a few people who could resist them, the rest couldn't deal with them at all. Li Zongjio and the others might be able to protect themselves. But what about the rest? They were bound to be destroyed by the dragons. That would truly be a calamity for all living beings. These arrogant dragons won't attack ordinary people, so there's no need to worry for the time being. I'll take some time to go to Dragon Island and see what's going on. Li Zongjio said. Since Li Tianqing was so worried, he couldn't let the situation continue to worsen. He had to find a time to solve it. However, Li Zongjio could also tell that the ambitions of these dragons were not small. Moreover, there were some unexpected situations happening within their own bodies. Li Zongjio reckoned that there was a big problem within their own bodies. That's good, but can you handle it? Although Li Tianqing knew that Li Zongjio was powerful, he obviously couldn't believe that Li Zongjio had such a great ability. That was the Dragon Island. Even if Li Tianqing knew something about it, it was all from mythological novels. Dragon Island was like a legendary existence. No one could prove whether it was true or not. After all, Li Tianqing was still far from that level. What's so difficult about that? If you like it, I can find someone to turn Luoxia City into something like Dragon Island. Li Zongjio recalled that he was supposed to bring back the architect from the sacred martial realm. However, the teleportation array had just been set up, so he did not summon that person yet. He would definitely bring that person over when he returned. Are you serious? Brat, you only know how to boast. Where did you learn your ability to boast from? Li Tianqing's eyes widened when he heard that. Could it even cause the entire city to fly up into the sky? If it was that strong, they would definitely have to take a good look at it. Of course, I'm telling the truth. What's there to boast about? Li Zongjio said with a helpless look on his face. It seemed to be a very easy operation for him. But in Li Tianqing's view, it seemed to be a very difficult thing to do. In this way, it seemed that Li Tianqing was not good at boasting. Stop talking nonsense. You'd better hurry up and do your business. Go to the Qi family and settle the matter between you two quickly. I'll start sending out the invitations. Li Tianqing urged as well. However, when he turned around, he found that Li Zongjio had taken Qi Yinran away. Both of them had disappeared to an unknown place. This brat is really good at running away. Seeing that Li Zongjio had disappeared directly, Li Tianqing did not notice it even with his cultivation. After turning around twice, he found that Li Zongjio had really disappeared without a trace. Li Tianqing really had no way to beat this brat up. Although Li Zongjio had never been married before, when he saw Kuan Erasure, he also felt that it was a very troublesome thing. It seemed that there were still a lot of messy things to do. Li Zongjio did not like these complicated things. He liked to do things simply. So, he took Qi Yinran to the front of heaven and earth. It's too troublesome to get married. Let's bow to heaven and earth here. Li Zongjio took Qi Yinran to a high mountain. The mountain here was so high that one could pick the stars. Qi Yinran did not know where this was, but when she heard Li Zongjio's words, she could not help but blush. Although the two of them had been together for a long time, they were also forced to separate for a long time. During such a long time, the feelings between the two of them had not diminished at all. Even if Qi Yanran was just an ordinary person without Yuan Qi cultivation today, Li Zhongjie would never abandon her in the slightest. For Qi Yanran, even if Li Zhongjie was not the top master in the continent, she would still follow Li Zhongjie. As long as I'm with you, I can bow to heaven and earth anywhere. Wherever they saw, it was heaven and earth. In this case, it was the same wherever they chose. What was really important was their hearts. Today, you and I will be married here. The sun and moon are witnesses. Heaven and earth can be witnesses. Li Zhongjie looked into Qi Yanran's eyes and said solemnly. The arrival of this moment was so sudden, just like when Li Zhongjie and Qi Yanran were together. Even Li Zhongjie did not expect that he would be so direct and directly choose to do it today. But since he had decided, he would not regret it. The sun and moon can be witnesses. Heaven and earth are united. Qi Yanran also looked into Li Zhongjie's eyes and answered seriously. The two of them held hands tightly together. At this moment, there was no need to say anything else. Although there was no other form or ceremony, for the two of them, they had already surpassed the secular world and had reached the realm of doing whatever they wanted. But today, the two of them also made their own promises to each other. Heaven and earth could also bear witness to the feelings between the two of them. This matter was considered to be a success. No matter how romantic the wedding was, it was not as good as the two of them being together. If Li Zhongjie was willing, it would not be difficult even if he gathered the monarchs of the 3 dynasties and all the sects in the primitive land. But to the two of them, it was not very meaningful. It was something that could be easily done. In fact, it was not a big deal at all. The most important thing was that their hearts could be connected. The two of them hugged each other. Sitting between heaven and earth, looking at the sea of clouds below, the wind and clouds were surging. I'll start to refine a few divine-level elixirs tomorrow and send them to your father. Li Zhongjie said. The etiquette of father-in-law was still necessary. See if there's anything else you need. Just take care of it. Li Zhongjie said. Well, okay. Qi Yanran nodded and said. Just when the two of them were leaning against each other and looking at the scenery, two people's voices could be heard from below. Although Li Zhongjie and Qi Yanran were not interested in eavesdropping on other people's conversations, they had no choice but to do so. Their voices all drilled into the two of them's ears. Send the news back to Dragon Island and tell Lord Evil Dragon that the decapitation plan has failed. It was disrupted by someone called Li Zhongjie. In order to complete the unification plan, we must send experts to deal with this person called Li Zhongjie. In addition, this person's nickname is Evil Lord. You must remember it clearly. One of them said. The other person was not a human, but a member of the Dragon Clan. I'll go back and report this. Tell the people of Ten Sword Sect to keep an eye on where these people are hiding. Don't hide and can't find them. If Lord Evil Dragon's plan is ruined, not only will you die, but the entire Ten Sword Sect will also cease to exist. A mini sparrow dragon that was the size of a crow. It was standing on a high place and looking down at the white-robed figure below. Although we failed this time, you can't blame us. The previous agreement is still in effect. Where are our things? The white-robed figure was also extremely tough. The mini sparrow dragon opened its mouth and spat out a ray of light. One of the top 10 ancient swords, the 7 Stars Moon Slashing Sword, is yours. You must remember that the Dragon Clan has countless treasures. As long as you are obedient, I guarantee that your 10 Sword Sect will become the #1 sect on the continent. Chapter 1437. The mini sparrow dragon's words caused the white-robed figure's eyes to flicker with lightning. Once upon a time, the 10 Sword Sect had been one of the top sects in the world. No one dared to bully them. Even if they heard the name of the 10 Sword Sect from afar, they would avoid them. However, everything had changed since the last incident. A few years ago, because of the appearance of a brat called the Evil Dominator, he had instigated the experts of the Skywater Sect and the Saint Flame Empire to come together to suppress the 10 Sword Sect. The final result was obvious. The Ten Swords sect had also suffered a heavy blow. Until now, they were somewhat dispirited and could not lift their spirits. However, the Ten Swords sect was no longer what it used to be. On the surface, the Ten Swords sect seemed to have declined, but they had been trading with the Dragon tribe. The Ten Swords sect had gradually concealed their strength and accumulated a lot of strength in secret. Now he was the sect master of the Ten Swords sect, Cheng Hui. He had obtained another ancient godly sword, the 7 Stars Moon Slashing. His strength had increased tremendously. In fact, the Ten Swords sect was the one behind the Dragon tribe's massacre last time. The Dragon tribe didn't bother to do such a thing. The Ten Swords sect had been the one behind the scenes. And the Dragon race's only move was this plot to bury all the human race's top management figures. Who would have thought that their meticulously planned plan to kill the leader would still be foiled by Li Zhongjiu and the others? If Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran had come back a month later, they might have succeeded. It was all fate. I'll go back and report to the evil dragon god and see what orders he has. Immediately, the mini sparrow dragon's body flashed and disappeared without a trace. Although it was only the size of a palm, this mini sparrow dragon's strength was actually quite strong. It had also mastered an extremely powerful skill, teleportation. It could teleport hundreds of miles in an instant. Even absolute saints couldn't travel 100 miles in an instant, and they didn't need to do anything to speed up. Catch it, Li Zhongjiu said. Qi Yanran nodded. Then, with a tap of her foot, her figure instantly disappeared. What a coincidence! Among the abilities mastered by Qi Yanran, one of them was comparable to teleportation. The Divine Sparrow clan was known for their speed and was extremely good at it. At this moment, Qi Yanran had also turned into a stream of light. In the blink of an eye, she swept forward. Although the mini sparrow dragon was very fast, it was actually very weak in combat, so it was only used to send messages. It didn't fly far before it was caught by Qi Yanran easily. Boom! Qi Yanran opened her palm and found that what she had caught was only a clone of the sparrow dragon. You want to capture this dragon, Lord? You are still too inexperienced. The mini sparrow turned around and laughed at Qi Yanran. His body, however, had already appeared dozens of meters away. At this moment, when he saw Qi Yanran stop, he immediately rushed in the opposite direction. Not only was his speed fast, but his turn in the air was also very powerful. However, he didn't fly far before he crashed into a wall of air with a bang. Then, Qi Yanran waved her hand, and a powerful force gathered into a light beam, suppressing the mini sparrow dragon. Then, the mini sparrow dragon seemed to be trapped by thousands of ropes, unable to break free. Despicable human, what have you done to this dragon? The mini sparrow dragon struggled but couldn't break free. Qi Yanran threw the mini sparrow dragon into the green bird platform. It was directly sealed inside. Then, Qi Yanran jumped and was about to return to where she came from, but she immediately found that the situation around her was not right. This place was already thousands of miles away. However, she found that there were some changes in the movement around her. When she looked up, the desolate heaven essence appeared in her hand. Come out! With a light shout. Then, several black figures appeared. They surrounded Qi Yanran in the middle. You are not from the Dragon clan? Qi Yanran glanced at the people in front of her. They were not from the Dragon clan. There was a faint murderous look in their eyes. It seemed that another group of mysterious forces had appeared in the Shengwu continent. Furthermore, in the dark, there was a mysterious power that was manipulating all of this. Then, Qi Yanran was extremely shocked to find that there was no way for her to gather her Yuan Qi. You are from the Devouring Yuan clan. Qi Yanran's eyes instantly burst out with light. At this moment on the previous mountain peak, Cheng Hui was also trying out the 7-star moon slashing sword that he had just obtained. It is indeed worthy of being ranked 7th among the top 10 ancient swords. With this sword, I will definitely be able to kill that little thief Li Zhongjiu. Cheng Hui waved the sword in his hand casually. Immediately, a terrifying wave of energy burst out. Buzz! Buzz! Feeling the shock of such power, Cheng Hui's confidence was greatly boosted. He even looked up at the sky, looking forward to the scene of defeating Li Zhongjiu in the future. However, the light in the sky seemed to be a little dazzling. At this moment, when Cheng Hui saw it, he couldn't help but feel a little dazed. He could vaguely see a figure in the sky. Someone is here? This was the forbidden area of the Tin Sword sect. It was impossible for anyone to come to such a place. Their ancestors had set up a restriction here, so that only the Tin Sword sect could come here. Could it be an illusion? When Cheng Hui took a closer look, he realized that there was indeed a figure in front of him. There was indeed a person here. Immediately, Cheng Hui was shocked in his heart. Who is it? Immediately, Cheng Hui slashed the sword in his hand toward the sky without hesitation. No matter who it was, he had to beat him down first. Boom! Cheng Hui slashed with his sword. The sword chi blasted forward like the waves of the sea. However, Li Zongjiu just flicked his finger and easily broke the sword chi released by the other party. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and waved. Immediately, the 7-star moon slashing sword in Cheng Hui's hand was sucked over. Li Zongjiu played with the 7-star moon slashing sword in his hand. The material of this sword is not bad. I will take it. Li Zongjiu said. What? Give me back my sword. Do you know who I am? How dare you act so presumptuously above me? How dare you call yourself I am? Cheng Hui was unable to restrain his anger. This person was too arrogant. And you, who exactly are you? Li Zongjiu smiled in a non-committal manner. Didn't you just say that you want to defeat me? Then I will lend you my sword. After Li Zongjiu finished speaking, he threw the sword in his hand back to Cheng Hui. Cheng Hui grabbed the 7-star moon slashing sword in his hand and looked at the descending Li Zongjiu. At first, when he looked at the 7-star moon slashing sword in his hand, he was somewhat in disbelief. How could this treasure sword be found again after being lost? He felt strange and shocked in his heart. Then, he carefully analyzed Li Zongjiu's words in his heart. Immediately, he was even more shocked. You are evil lord. Li Zongjiu. At this moment, Cheng Hui's eyes were shining with light. Chapter 1438. Evil Lord Li Zongjiu. This name was a nightmare for Cheng Hui. If it weren't for Li Zongjiu, their Tin Sword sect would have become the top sect in the Tianyan dynasty. However, after Li Zongjiu's interference, the Tin Sword sect had fallen from being a top first-rate sect to a second-rate sect. If they wanted to return to their peak state, who knew how long it would take for them to do so? However, due to a coincidence, Cheng Hui was able to connect with the Dragon Clan. Therefore, Cheng Hui himself was quite surprised. Recently, because he had helped the Dragon Clan, his strength had increased to its current level. With his current strength, Cheng Hui's strength had increased a lot. Moreover, the Tin Sword sect's experts had also been gradually cultivated. As long as these experts were cultivated, it was only a matter of time before he regained his reputation and status. In fact, due to the continuous improvement of his strength recently, it had inflated the strength in his heart. He also wanted to spar with Li Zongjiu. However, he didn't expect that his dream would come true so quickly. While his words were still warm, Li Zongjiu had already appeared in front of him. Come on! Li Zongjiu beckoned to the person in front of him. After seeing Li Zongjiu, the sect master of the Tin Sword sect, Cheng Hui, was extremely nervous. However, when he looked at the 7-star moon slashing sword in his hand, he regained his courage. He didn't believe that anyone could be truly invincible. If that was the case, why didn't he establish a force to unify the entire continent? There must be a weakness. Are you really evil Lord Li Zongjiu? I don't want to kill a nameless ghost with my sword. Cheng Hui was quite stubborn. Hearing Cheng Hui's words, Li Zongjiu immediately took a step forward. He pointed a finger at Cheng Hui's body. Immediately, Cheng Hui's body stiffened on the spot. At the same time, Li Zongjiu directly snatched the information from Cheng Hui's mind. However, he discovered that they were basically useless things. This idiot, what is he thinking about? Li Zongjiu couldn't help but stare blankly. This idiot's head was filled with thoughts of becoming number one in the world. He really didn't know how this idiot became the sect master. It was because he was too stupid. Turn yourself in at the Tianshui sect. Li Zongjiu did not want to deal with this guy. It would be too wasteful to kill them directly. Who knows, they might be able to make use of them in the future. After making good use of these people, they might be able to achieve better results. Li Zhongjiu directly influenced Cheng Hui's will and made him take the initiative to complete the task. As for the 7 stars moon slashing sword, it was kept by Li Zhongjiu. After all, this sword was not bad. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu did not like to collect treasures. With his pair of iron fists, he was invincible in the world. The look in his eyes gradually changed. It's been a long time. I haven't wanted to kill someone so much in a long time. Get out here. Li Zhongjiu roared towards the sky. Waves of blood immediately churned in a radius of 10,000 miles. A terrifying bloody aura soared into the sky, directly enveloping the sky, and turning it into a bloody night. Immediately, 5 figures were forced out by Li Zhongjiu's powerful aura. A terrifying wolf was born, forming a blood-colored skeleton in the sky. The skeleton's eyes were filled with madness and fear. This person's aura is so strong. Devour his yuan power and open the sky eye. Following that, the 5 of them immediately got into formation. Immediately, they took off their hats, revealing the 3rd eye on their foreheads. The 3rd eye, the devouring Yuan clan. A strange wave of energy surged towards Li Zhongjiu. It seemed to be sealing Li Zhongjiu's yuan power. As for Li Zhongjiu's yuan power, it was indeed rapidly diminishing. No matter how strong he is, he will only become a corpse in front of the devouring Yuan clan. One of them said with a sneer. But in the next second, Li Zhongjiu's figure appeared in front of him. His eyes met the other party's 3 eyes. Oh, is that so? Chapter 1439. Obviously, the 3 eyes were also stunned for a moment. This was because he couldn't imagine how Li Zhongjiu could be so fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of him. Li Zhongjiu stretched out his hand and grabbed the man's neck. He tightened his grip. The man's eyes widened immediately. He had difficulty breathing, but his eyes were getting bigger and bigger. His eyeballs were completely bloodshot. After that, Li Zhongjiu directly used 2 fingers to gouge out the latter's eyeballs. Li Zhongjiu's movements weren't fast, and his strength was so strong that the man couldn't resist. Without any hesitation, he dug out the man's eyeballs. The eyeballs were still bloodshot, and all the strange things were connected to them. Coincidentally, the man from the devouring Yuan clan opened his mouth, and Li Zhongjiu shoved his eyeballs into the man's mouth. Gulp. He swallowed the man's eyeballs in one bite. At the same time, Li Zhongjiu dug out the man's 3rd eye. When the 3rd eye was dug out, the man from the devouring Yuan clan died instantly. He died just like that. How boring. Li Zhongjiu couldn't help but stare blankly. It seemed that directly digging out the 3rd eye was too easy for them. If they died like this, how could Li Zhongjiu torture them? Seeing Li Zhongjiu kill one of them so easily, the remaining 4 people were shocked. What's going on? Our devouring Yuan clan doesn't work on him? Impossible. As long as it's origin energy, we can capture it. He must be using some elixir. That's why he can resist. Use weapons. One of them said directly. It was impossible to say that Li Zhongjiu's origin energy wasn't affected at all. The devouring Yuan clan wasn't called devouring Yuan clan for nothing. It was able to easily remove their elemental energy. However, Li Zhongjiu's strength didn't seem to have weakened at all. Instead, he was still bursting with powerful combat strength, just like the woman from before. Immediately, the remaining 4 people also took out their weapons. The weapons in their hands were known as light energy weapons. The glowing longsword and the glowing broadsword were all glowing in his hands. Because these people had special abilities, they could directly devour elemental energy. But at the same time, they couldn't cultivate elemental energy themselves, but they could cultivate martial arts. After mastering powerful martial arts, it would be easier to kill the enemy. The only thing they were afraid of was some cultivators, who were extremely powerful, just by relying on the strength of their physical bodies. However, such people were few and far between. Moreover, the threat it posed was rather limited. As long as he could kill them, there would be no problem. The effulgence weapon in his hand was enough to destroy the physical body of any origin emperor. They brandished their effulgence weapons and slashed towards Li Zongjiu. Boom! Li Zongjiu, on the other hand, stood motionless. Li Zongjiu was struck by his opponent's strength. There was no threat to him at all. Even Li Zongjiu's physical defense couldn't be broken. One had to know that Li Zongjiu's body had been tempered by the power of chaos. In addition to the ancient golden body art of the Dragon Clan, that was how the body of evil was created today. Li Zongjiu himself also had a mysterious bloodline power in his body. Now that it was completely released, it also made Li Zongjiu's strength extremely powerful. That's it. Li Zongjiu slapped the 4 people in front of him and sent them flying. Immediately, the 4 people felt a buzzing sound. One of them received a bigger slap. He actually flung one of his eyeballs out of his head. Bang! Immediately, his eyeball flew out, and he was in great pain. The rest of them also seized the opportunity and kept hitting Li Zongjiu with their effulgence weapons. However, Li Zongjiu was unharmed. Bang! Li Zongjiu directly grabbed the 2 people's heads and slammed them together. Immediately, the 2 people's heads were smashed into pieces at the same time. The pain was so clear that they could feel it. Li Zongjiu directly tore apart the limbs of these people. Flesh and blood splattered in the sky. At the same time, it was the most direct attack that seriously injured the people from the Devouring Yuan clan. Although Li Zongjiu already knew that these people were from the Devouring Yuan clan, he didn't care. He didn't care which clan they were from. As long as they offended Li Zongjiu, they would die. No, sometimes there was another outcome. That was a fate worse than death. What? He's even more terrifying than us. Looking at their companions' organs being blown away one by one, Li Zongjiu's fist was even more powerful than their most powerful effulgence weapons. They couldn't withstand Li Zongjiu's attack at all. Seeing this, the remaining person was no match for Li Zongjiu at all. He immediately abandoned his companion in a hurry and rushed into the distance. Boom! Although they couldn't cultivate origin energy, the Devouring Yuan clan possessed Devouring Yuan force. In fact, it was a special origin energy attribute. Although it wasn't very strong, it wasn't too difficult for them to fly. With such a heaven-defying ability, he could easily kill anyone else in an instant. It could be said that they were the fated enemies of all origin energy cultivators. However, they didn't expect to meet Li Zongjiu, a freak who cultivated his physical body. Trying to run? Li Zongjiu waved his hand and threw the 3 people from the Devouring Yuan clan, who were still alive, into the Bell of Chaos. Now that Li Zongjiu was also affected, the origin energy in his body was also extremely empty. Although he couldn't summon the power of hell, the Bell of Chaos controlled the chaotic energy, so it could be easily mobilized. It was a good opportunity to throw the Devouring Yuan clan and the Dragon clan together and see what kind of sparks they could create. Li Zongjiu's speed wasn't something that the 3-eyed creature from the Devouring Yuan clan could contend with just by relying on his physical strength alone. However, Li Zongjiu didn't chase after them directly. Instead, he followed them from afar. The latter entered the mountains and very wisely hid in a dark ravine. Li Zongjiu's eyes were cold. He let one of them go. He wanted to catch all of them in one fell swoop. Even so, it was difficult to eliminate the hatred in Li Zongjiu's heart. Fortunately, Qi Yinran's life was saved by the presence of the Blue Bird platform. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu would once again fall into endless pain and darkness if Qi Yinran's body was injured beyond repair. At that time, Li Zongjiu would be in deep regret. Since the Devouring Yuan clan dared to attack Qi Yinran, they couldn't blame Li Zongjiu for it. The only one who escaped was from the Devouring Yuan clan. He circled around a small mountain and looked back at the sky. Li Zongjiu didn't come as he expected. He couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. How can there be such a terrifying person? It seems that only the Guangwu guards can get rid of him. The so-called Guangwu guards. In fact, they were selected from the Devouring Yuan clan and subdued some powerful Devouring Yuan beasts in the Devouring Yuan realm. They were the guards who combined the two to fight. However, all of the Guangwu guards were fighting on Dragon Island. Therefore, they had to wait for the Guangwu guards to come back first. However, they had received quite a shock just now. Their eyeballs had been directly blasted out. For the people of the devouring Yuan clan, this was a very painful and heart-wrenching thing. Just thinking about it was enough to make them feel extreme pain. The third eye on the forehead was equivalent to the heart of the devouring Yuan clan. Even if the body was smashed, as long as the eye was still there, they wouldn't die. At least, there was hope to save them. Based on their appearance alone, the devouring Yuan race looked almost the same as the human race, even if their third eye was covered. In fact, they didn't look any different from the human race. Therefore, it was easy for the devouring Yuan clan to hide among the human clan. Although they looked very similar to each other, they were very different in many aspects. The devouring Yuan clan was a big clan, and was one of the 9 clans like the human clan. Now the fallen race had been completely destroyed. Therefore, there were only 8 clans left. Finally, the devouring Yuan clan came to a valley after making a big detour. Obviously, this was the lair of the devouring Yuan clan. Chapter 1440. The living habits of the devouring Yuan clan were very different from that of the human clan. The devouring Yuan clan liked to use the sky as their blanket and the ground as their bed. They would dig a hole in the cave and bury half of their bodies in it. At the same time, they could absorb the energy of the earth. They could absorb the energy of the earth to strengthen the cultivation of their third eye. The cultivation of the third eye was what the devouring Yuan clan wanted to do all their lives. Only after the cultivation of the third eye could they produce heaven light. Only then could they become a real Guangwu guard. Obviously, the 5 people were not at that level. The heavenly light that the third eye could release was, in fact, a terrifying attack. It was extremely powerful. I'm back. Something bad has happened. Hurry up and inform the elders. There's a terrifying existence in the human clan. His physical quality is extremely strong. The first thing he did when he returned was to sound the alarm. Everyone come over. Let's gather our strength and send this message out. Under the call of the devouring Yuan clan member, more than 500 devouring Yuan clan members in the devouring Yuan clan's lair gathered together. Then, they listened carefully to the people who had just escaped and described how terrifying Li Zongjiu's strength was. When they heard the last part of the story, their faces were filled with shock. They looked at each other, their 3 eyes darting back and forth. Is there really such a powerful person? More than 500 people were chatting and discussing. There seemed to be a strange fluctuation in their voices. It was not obvious when there were only 1 or 2 of them. However, when there were many of them, there was a sound wave that was similar to that of bats vibrating in the air. When Li Zongjiu saw that most of the people had gathered, he decided to show himself. Boy, you did well. Li Zongjiu came to the side of the devouring Yuan clan member, who had just escaped. He first patted him on the shoulder, and then under his shocked gaze, he chopped his head off with the 7 stars moon-slashing sword. However, he did not blind his eyes. Instead, he placed his head on a stone platform. It could be seen that his eyes were still blinking non-stop. Just stay here and watch how I kill them all. Li Zongjiu laughed. But the evil and horror contained in this smile was something that Li Zongjiu had never seen in his life. He had never been afraid before. Even dealing with Qi Yanran this time was very easy for them. Qi Yanran was already the strongest person in the Holy Martial Continent besides Li Zongjiu. He wouldn't necessarily lose, even if he challenged the Lightning Dragon Patriarch one-on-one. However, he was still defeated by the devouring Yuan clan. This showed how powerful these people were. However, no matter how powerful he was, his fate was obvious when he met Li Zongjiu. Before the members of the devouring Yuan clan could react, Li Zongjiu raised his weapon and jumped into the crowd. In ancient times, the 7-star moon-slashing sword was the personal weapon of a saint. It was said that if the weapon could be used to its peak, it could easily summon the power of the 7 stars. It was enough to have the power to destroy the world. Li Zongjiu was holding the 7-star moon-slashing sword. The members of the devouring Yuan clan in front of him were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Li Zongjiu easily cut off their limbs. Although it was impossible to use Yuan Qi in this place, Li Zongjiu's body of the evil god was quite strong. It was easy to kill the people in front of him. However, Li Zongjiu didn't just want to kill them. He wanted to bring them endless pain. Therefore, after cutting off their limbs, Li Zhongjiu didn't directly end their lives. The effulgence weapon in the hands of the devouring Yuan clan. It couldn't cause any injury to Zhao Kaishan at all. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu could be said to have killed his way out. More than 500 people. They were cut down by Li Zhongjiu. Some of them wanted to escape, but Li Zhongjiu directly destroyed the rock cave in an instant. Boom! The rocks on the rock cave fell down and blocked all the exits. No one could get out. This might be an extremely gloomy day for the devouring Yuan clan. It was filled with blood-red darkness. In fact, the devouring Yuan clan also lived in the Saint Martial continent. However, they were very few in number. They were the descendants of the previous batch of people who went to war. Now, the devouring Yuan clan needed to find their own continent. Recently, the devouring Yuan clan had been planning something with the Dragon clan. They thought that they would be able to return to the devouring Yuan realm soon. However, they didn't expect that a terrifying god of death like Li Zhongjiu would appear halfway. Now the people in front of them all looked like they were in the depths of hell. Li Zhongjiu walked in a pile of flesh and blood. Some of them were unable to endure the pain during the process and were directly hacked to death. However, the majority of them were still alive. They still had a breath of life left in them. Furthermore, their third eyes were still able to see everything clearly. Oh, there are 2 intact ones. Li Zhongjiu found 2 intact members of the devouring Yuan clan in a pile of flesh and blood. The 2 of them seemed to have gone into hiding long ago. Now that Li Zhongjiu had found them, they immediately hugged each other like birds startled by the twang of a bow. They roared in pain. Ah! No, don't kill us. We'll do whatever you want. We don't want to be cut off. The 2 young members of the devouring Yuan clan, a man and a woman, hugged each other tightly. They hugged each other tightly, not daring to look at Li Zhongjiu again. Okay, I'm in a good mood today. Li Zhongjiu grinned, which made people's hearts palpitate inexplicably. However, it was an extremely rare opportunity for them to live. Therefore, they stared at Li Zhongjiu with their eyes wide open. They seemed to be asking what they could do for him, to let them go. Whoever cuts off the other's hand, I'll let him go. Li Zhongjiu stuck the 7 stars moon-slashing sword in his hand into the ground. At the same time, he took a step back to give the 2 of them enough space. Killing each other? Under normal circumstances, this kind of thing would never happen. However, it had happened here. After experiencing Li Zhongjiu's crazy and bloody killing scene, they felt that it was too late. Their psychological defenses had been completely broken through. Therefore, under such circumstances, they could do anything. The 2 of them were obviously shocked. They didn't expect Li Zhongjiu to make such a request. They wanted to strangle Li Zhongjiu to death. Sir, we know we were wrong. Please let us go. Sir, we know we were wrong. As the young man spoke, he knelt down and approached the 7 stars moon-slashing sword. Then, when the woman wasn't paying attention, he pulled out the sword and slashed it behind him. The young woman from the devouring Yuan clan was directly cut in half. Naturally, his third eye was also split open. Li Zhongjiu didn't expect this kid to be so decisive and ruthless. You're good. I won't kill you. Li Zhongjiu didn't kill him. However, Li Zhongjiu didn't leave. At this moment, the head that Li Zhongjiu had chopped off at the beginning had completely stopped breathing. In the nameless valley, the painful wails of the people from the devouring Yuan clan could be heard. It was like a hell of the devouring Yuan clan, constantly summoning the remaining members of the devouring Yuan clan. Li Zhongjiu took the soul of the last surviving member of the devouring Yuan clan. Li Zhongjiu found the specific situation of this group of people from the devouring Yuan clan in his memory. It turned out that this was only a small group of people. They had basically lost the original ability of the devouring Yuan clan. Originally, the people from the devouring Yuan clan could basically open their sky eyes in the devouring Yuan realm. They had the power of the sky eyes. However, this group of people hadn't returned to the devouring Yuan realm for many generations. Therefore, they had lost this ability. Now, some of the people from the devouring Yuan clan who had opened their sky eyes had gone to Dragon Island and formed an alliance with a guy called Evil Dragon God. Now they were helping Evil Dragon God to take over Dragon Island. Chapter 1441. To put it simply, the evil dragon god had rebelled. Li Zongjio didn't know what kind of agreement they had reached. However, Li Zongjio wasn't going to let the devouring Yuan clan continue to be arrogant. Although Li Zongjio didn't have any enmity with the devouring Yuan clan, they had injured Qi Yanran. The enmity had been officially formed. Annihilate the devouring Yuan clan. After that, Li Zongjio soared into the sky and charged towards the Dragon Island. An enormous amount of mental energy spread out in the sky. It was like a surging wave that swept across the sky. Soon, in the southwest corner of the sky, Li Zongjio locked onto a secret area. Found it. The Dragon Island was always moving and floating all year round. As for exactly where it would appear in the next moment, it was also an uncertain situation. However, with Li Zongjio's cultivation in the absolute saint realm, it wasn't too difficult for him to find the direction. When Li Zongjio charged towards Dragon Island, Cheng Hui, the sect master of Ten Swords Sect, had already arrived at Stellar City. Tiangang City was also a city within the Sky Water sect. Now that there were 3 top experts from Sparrow Divine Palace guarding the city, they would be able to fend off the dragon tribe's invasion. Therefore, these people became bolder. After all, they didn't have a good place to go. Therefore, they were arranged to stay in front of Stellar City. The 3 elders of Sparrow Divine Palace were very arrogant. After all, they were above the imperial family and didn't take them seriously at all. However, after knowing that Li Tianqing was Li Zongjio's father, they became very polite to him. He immediately became polite to Li Tianqing. He even asked about his well-being, as if they were old friends who had known each other for many years. Compared to the people in front of them, the 3 elders of Sparrow Divine Palace clearly knew how powerful Li Zongjio was. He wasn't as simple as they thought. If it was said that Li Zongjio already possessed heaven-defying strength, it would not be strange at all. Therefore, while the 3 elders were rude to others, they were extremely respectful to Li Tianqing. Furthermore, the palatial lords of his family were all his daughters-in-law. How high was Li Tianqing's status? Li Tianqing himself felt flattered. Although he didn't know exactly how powerful his son was, Li Tianqing at least had an idea of the strength of the 3 elders in front of him. They were the top experts of the continent, experts who came out of the untainted land. How could such strength be underestimated? Of course, Li Tianqing wasn't someone who didn't know what was good for him. If the other party gave him some face, he could just accept it. He couldn't just take it. Otherwise, no one could predict what would happen if he flew into a rage out of humiliation. Although Li Tianqing had the right to intervene in dealing with the aftermath, he wouldn't actually do such things. After all, he didn't come into contact with many things. Moreover, a casual decision of these people would determine the lives of tens of millions of people. Li Tianqing only played a role in this. He didn't participate in the discussion process. Just as everyone was discussing in Tiangang City, suddenly, an uninvited guest came. The people of Tianshui sect were quite clear about the identity of this person. It was the sect master of Ten Swords Sect, Cheng Hui. Wasn't the person in front of them the sect master of Ten Swords Sect? During the crusade against Ten Swords Sect, this guy hid very well. He directly hid most of the elites of Ten Swords Sect. Later, they were finally found by the people of Tianshui sect and the Shengyin dynasty. After being beaten up, Cheng Hui's attitude of apologizing was very sincere, and he almost knelt down directly. When everyone saw Cheng Hui's sincere attitude, they thought that Cheng Hui already knew that he was wrong and couldn't continue to kill him. They didn't expect Cheng Hui to come again at this moment. Moreover, when he appeared here, everyone could clearly feel how powerful Cheng Hui's strength was. In just a few years, Cheng Hui had broken through to the realm of 7th grade sovereign. It was very shocking. Cheng Hui, what are you doing here? When Gong Yu saw Cheng Hui, she immediately frowned and said, the current Ten Swords sect was in the Tianyin dynasty and couldn't even be considered as a second-rate sect. However, Cheng Hui's own strength had improved greatly, which made people vigilant. Unexpectedly, when Cheng Hui saw Gong Yu and the others, he directly knelt down with a plop. I was the one who colluded with the Dragon Clan and leaked the location of your meeting to the Dragon Clan. I was also the one who ordered the massacre of the city. I was also the one who wrote that threatening letter. All of this was orchestrated by the dragon clan. I was just an executor. The evil dominator ordered me to surrender myself. Whatever you want to know, you can ask me directly. Cheng Hui knelt on the ground, as if he was memorizing a script, and told the whole story. Evil Lord's order? If what Cheng Hui had done was really as he had said, then he was simply an unpardonable and heinous sinner of the human race. It was no wonder that Cheng Hui's strength improved so quickly. It was because of the treasures exchanged from the dragon tribe, which directly allowed Cheng Hui's strength to improve rapidly. Cheng Hui, how dare you? When Gong Yu heard this, she was furious. She immediately caught Cheng Hui in front of the crowd and thoroughly interrogated him. Cheng Hui immediately told the story of how he got involved with the dragon tribe. In the end, all of this was known to everyone. In fact, the dragon tribe didn't do anything at all. It was Cheng Hui from the Ten Sword sect who played tricks behind the scenes. Moreover, the Ten Sword sect had accumulated many treasures from the dragon tribe. They ordered Cheng Hui to hand over all of them. In addition to the 7 stars moon slashing sword, which was taken away by Li Zongjiu, Cheng Hui also obtained 3 treasures. One of them was the fire flag. It was extremely powerful. With the power of the fire flag, it directly slaughtered the people of a city. When these matters were discussed, the expressions on everyone's faces had already changed. They did not expect that a mere Cheng Hui would actually be able to do such a heartless thing. He had even nearly wiped out the leaders of the 3 dynasties. If Li Zongjiu and Qi Yinran hadn't arrived in time, Cheng Hui would have succeeded. It was hard to say what would happen in the future. Cheng Hui's plan was so close to being a success. At that time, Cheng Hui's 10 Sword sect would become the top sect of the continent, and they would be wiped out completely. The rest of the history would be made up by Cheng Hui. What a vicious heart. I didn't expect you to be so daring. Gong Yu said coldly. Everyone, how should we punish this person? Gong Yu looked at the rest of the people. Cheng Hui was definitely going to die. After doing such a thing, how could they let him continue living? So what if he was in the Supreme Being realm? Thus, everyone began to spread the word that they would use different methods to execute Cheng Hui. After all, what Cheng Hui had done was intolerable and intolerable. What do you think, Hai Dukli? Emperor Xingyan looked at Li Tianqing. Although Li Tianqing wasn't involved in politics, it wasn't difficult for him to express his opinion on this kind of thing. Did they really want him to sit on the bench and watch for the whole day? Since this little thief betrayed the human race and gained the trust of the dragon clan, we might as well let this little thief mix in with the dragon clan and collect information for us. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy can you win every battle. Li Tianqing said. These words were a reminder to everyone. In fact, it wasn't that no one had thought of this way of dealing with things, but after saying it out loud, no one would necessarily listen to you. However, the weight of Li Tianqing's words was different. They must listen to Li Tianqing's opinion. With that said, everyone listened to him. In addition, this idea was indeed good. However, who could guarantee Cheng Hui's loyalty? Cheng Hui, I order you to go undercover in Dragon Island and collect information about the Dragon Clan. Are you willing to do so? Li Tianqing asked. Cheng Hui is under the control of the will of Evil Lord. He will listen to any orders. Everyone was shocked when they heard that. After all, Cheng Hui was a Supreme Being realm expert. Now no one knew where Li Zongjiu was, but his influence was so far-reaching. It was really terrifying. Chapter 1442. East of Dragon Island. The land of Dragon Island stretched for millions of miles. It was floating in the sky. Every day, it would drift for hundreds of thousands of miles. After all, the sea area was vast and no one had ever reached the end of it. The deeper one went into the sea, the more one would be ravaged by the endless waves and the sea wind. Even if one had the golden body of the dragon clan, one would only end up being torn into dragon jerky if he got close. Hence, no one had ever tried to uncover the secrets in the deep sea. East of Dragon Island, a few giant dragons descended from the sky. One of them fell directly to the ground, drawing a long gully in the ground, dragging out a mark that was 1,000 meters long. The one that fell to the ground was a purple giant dragon. There were many wounds on its body. It was being chased by 3 golden giant dragons and 1 white giant dragon. There was a figure standing on each of the dragons' backs. Longji, why are you still resisting? Join Lord Evil Dragon God's team. With your cultivation, you will be at least a deputy commander. Your position is higher than mine. Why not? One of the golden giant dragons spoke in human language. It had become a habit for many years. Even in terms of language, they were considered to be the same. They wanted to persuade Longji to surrender. Longji did not waste her energy to maintain her giant dragon form. She immediately transformed back into her human form. The rest of the giant dragons also transformed when they saw this. Anyway, Longji had nowhere to run. If he could persuade Longji to surrender, then the evil dragon god would have another fierce general under his command. It would definitely be a great merit. Since when did the giant dragon clan get trampled under the feet of the devouring Yuan clan? Longji said flatly. She was referring to the giant dragon clan. She had just become the mount of the devouring Yuan clan. This was absolutely impossible for the noble giant dragon clan. Even if it happened, it would not happen so easily. Under the control of the devouring Yuan clan, even someone as strong as Longji could not use her Yuan power. Hence, she could only fight with her own body. However, she was up against 5 golden dragon warriors. Longji had already cultivated the ancient golden body of the Ba'agu a long time ago. Coupled with the mental control of the white dragon race, Longji could be said to be powerless against the combined forces of the 6 of them. She was defeated just like that. Even if they wanted to escape from the Dragon Island, they had already lost their chance. Longji had never thought that things would be so serious. He had never thought that the other party would have joined forces with the devouring Origin clan. This greatly reduced the resistance and combat strength of the dragons. In a situation where he was unable to use his Yuan power, his body had become rather dangerous. We're merely in a cooperative relationship. If the lords of the dragon tribe wish to step on my head, you can do so as well. Hey, a man from the devouring Yuan clan stepped forward and said nonchalantly, that's right. He had helped the golden dragon and the others out of their predicament. In that case, both sides were in an equal partnership. Even if they were allowed to ride for a while, they wouldn't have any complaints. You have a glib tongue. You must be one of the top figures in the devouring Yuan clan. Longji looked at the member of the devouring Yuan clan and said. The man from the devouring Yuan clan lowered his head and smiled. He took a step forward. I'm not considered a figure, but I do have a name. Miss Longji, you can call me Tunchi. Tunchi said. Tunchi, this name really makes me uncomfortable. Of course, it's not as pleasant as Miss Longji's name. Tunchi didn't feel awkward at all. Instead, he praised Longji. Jin Shan, don't you want me to surrender? Sure. Twist off this Tunchi's head and stomp it into a pulp. Then, I'll surrender and join your evil dragon god's camp. How about that? Longji said. When the other party heard that Longji had agreed, he was surprised. However, Bai Long reacted quickly. Longji, don't try to sow discord here. You and I have learned the 36 stratagems of the human tribe. You'd better surrender now. Otherwise, we'll have to fight again and hurt our friendship. Bai Long said. Bai Shi-san, how dare you say that you cultivate mental strength with your low IQ? After the devouring Yuan clan has killed all the people in the Draconic Penitentiary, they'll find a way to kill the Golden Dragon tribe and the White Dragon tribe. Longji said coldly. It was just a casual remark. Of course, Longji didn't expect Jin Shan and the others to kill the devouring Yuan clan. Moreover, once they started fighting, it was still unknown whether they could win. Since Miss Longji is so stubborn, we have no choice but to offend her. Brothers from the dragon tribe, let's take her down first. Tunchi said coldly. With the devouring Yuan clan's strength, it was impossible for them to defeat Longji alone. Longji, we're sorry. Jin Shan and the other 4 experts from the Golden Dragon tribe took a step forward and threw a punch at Longji. Longji raised her hand to block it. The strength of the energy formed by the 5 of them was enough to shatter the surrounding space. Boom! Long Ji's figure was instantly sent flying hundreds of meters away. Fortunately, Long Ji was a mixed blood. Her body's defense was above that of an ordinary dragon. Otherwise, she wouldn't have become an expert in the draconic penitentiary so easily. Damn it! Before they could get up, the 5 experts from the Golden Dragon tribe had rearranged their formation and were flying toward Long Ji. Boom! Their escape routes had been completely sealed off. The devouring Yuan clan was also in hot pursuit. She continued to control the surrounding Yuan power with her own strength. We don't want to hurt you. You forced us to do this. Jin Shan let out a low roar. This roar was like a thunderclap exploding on the ground. Boom! Jin Shan threw out a punch. The powerful essence energy was like a landslide, and the earth was split open. Long Ji's body was severely injured. Bang! Long Ji's body fell to the ground. A few of her bones were broken. Cough cough. She spat out a mouthful of blood. The experts from the devouring Yuan clan could not only control the enemy's Yuan power, but they could also give the people on their side the right to use their Yuan power. However, under the mental strength of the White Dragon tribe, he could also easily recover the energy he had expended. You have no chance of winning, Jin Shan said flatly. Everyone gathered behind Jin Shan. They had wanted to keep Long Ji here, but it seemed like it would be difficult to do so now. They were powerful and loyal to the dragon ancestor. Let me tell you the truth. The evil dragon god has found where the dragon ancestor is, and obtained the dragon ancestor's power. Do you think the rest of you have a chance? Jin Shan shook his head and sighed. A wise man submits to circumstances. Although the people from the devouring Yuan clan must be up to something, their schemes were weak in the face of absolute power. Therefore, after the evil dragon god unified the Dragon Island, the people of the devouring Yuan clan would definitely become ghosts under his claws. Of course, he couldn't tell them about this yet. If he did, it would ruin the cooperation between the two clans. It would be troublesome in the future. However, Jin Shan and the others had obviously underestimated the people from the devouring Yuan clan. After all, the dragon tribe might not be that intelligent. Swoosh! Just as Long Ji was about to die, she heard a whooshing sound. It sounded like something was coming from above. The sun on Dragon Island was glaring. However, when Long Ji raised her head slightly, she could vaguely see a figure with robes flapping under the sun. The sword in his hand looked familiar. Isn't that the 7-star moon-slashing sword? The Sparrow Dragon tribe leader had no collection. It took me a while to find them, Li Zongjiu said flatly. The Dragon Island was even wider than the Saint Martial continent. It wasn't easy for them to catch up and find the devouring Yuan clan's traces. Since he had sensed the fluctuation of Yuan power, he decided to take a look first. As expected, Li Zongjiu soon found 6 people from the devouring Yuan clan. It's him. Long Ji was shocked when she heard Li Zongjiu's voice. Chapter 1443. Li Zongjiu landed in the middle of the 2 groups of people. He turned around and glanced at Long Ji. The latter was obviously severely injured. However, Li Zongjiu did not say much as he stared at Tun Qi and the rest. You people from the giant dragon tribe can get lost now. This has nothing to do with you, Li Zongjiu said calmly. He was not afraid of the giant dragon tribe, but he did not want to get entangled with the people in front of him. He was not in the mood to deal with this and that. If they were obedient, he would let them go. However, if they were not obedient, Li Zongjiu would have no choice but to deal with them. How arrogant! When Jin Shan heard Li Zongjiu's arrogance, he was immediately displeased. Li Zongjiu didn't even put the giant dragon race in his eyes. How could he directly ask them to scram? How could they tolerate this? You're not from the giant dragon tribe but a human? However, Bai Shisan from the White Dragon tribe discovered the crux of the matter. Li Zongjiu was actually a human. Where did he come from? How could a human come to their Dragon Island? The height of the Dragon Island alone was not something an ordinary human could withstand. Moreover, the Dragon Island did not have a specific location. How did Li Zongjiu find his way here? Everyone was shocked. Since ancient times, there had never been a human who could reach the Dragon Island directly. However, Judging by Li Zongjiu's attitude, he seemed to have found this place specifically to cause trouble for the devouring Yuan tribe. Human brat. The Dragon Island is not a place you can come and go as you please. How dare you speak such arrogant words? If I don't teach you a lesson today, you will lose all respect for the Dragon Island. Jin Shan could not care less. No matter what Li Zongjiu was here for, he must destroy him today. Only then could he protect the dignity of the giant dragon tribe. Tun Chi looked at Li Zongjiu. They did not know Li Zongjiu. Why would he appear here? And after he appeared, was he here to cause trouble for the devouring Origin clan? Did he have a grudge against them? Wait a minute. Who are you? Our devouring Yuan clan has never attacked the human tribe. Who are you? Tun Chi immediately stared at Li Zongjiu. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the third eye and landed on Li Zongjiu. The light wasn't dazzling, but Li Zongjiu could see countless devouring Yuan clan members wailing in agony. Countless suffering souls seemed to be following Li Zongjiu. No, not with Li Zongjiu. It was Li Zongjiu who had bound these souls to him. Torture was being carried out. He was suffering endless pain, never to be reincarnated. In the end, such a situation occurred. With just a glance, Tun Chi felt as though he had walked through hell. Immediately, he was drenched in sweat. There was deep fear in his eyes as he stared at Li Zongjiu. You! How dare you kill the devouring Yuan clan members? Tun Chi stared at Li Zongjiu. Jin Shan and the others looked at each other. Looking at Li Zongjiu in front of them, they recalled the collision just now. The other party was like a piece of pure iron that could not be shaken at all. They could only be forced to retreat. And she wasn't alone here. Instead, all 5 of them were easily forced to retreat. The few of them were quite shocked. Li Zongjiu casually swung his arm. That's all you have? Li Zongjiu could not help but frown. He thought that the Golden Dragon clan was more powerful than he had imagined. However, when they collided for the first time, he realized that the Golden Dragon clan in front of him did not seem to be able to exert any strength at all. They could not resist his power at all. That was why they mocked him. Damn it. Activate my Yuan power. I'm going to give this guy a good beating. Tun Chi nodded. Tun Chi wanted to get rid of Li Zongjiu as soon as possible. Li Zongjiu had killed so many people from the devouring Yuan clan. Firstly, it was a heinous crime. Secondly, the fact that he could do so showed that his strength was extremely terrifying. At least his physical quality was extremely strong. Otherwise, a cultivator who specialized in cultivating Yuan power would instantly be reduced to a lamb waiting to be slaughtered when he met the devouring Yuan clan. Now that they saw Li Zongjiu forcing the 5 golden dragons to retreat, they could not help but be frightened. They might even be in danger. If the Golden Dragon clan could not deal with Li Zongjiu, they would be the ones who would be stabbed in the end. The people from the devouring Yuan clan were not stupid. Although they had been blinded by their anger, they still had their intellect. At this moment, they could clearly think of a way to deal with Li Zongjiu. Buzz! A ray of light energy landed on Jin Shan's body. Jin Shan's power was completely restored. Even the people from the devouring Yuan clan could not undo the effect of the devouring Yuan power at will. For example, Tun Chi had to concentrate his power to make Jin Shan regain his Yuan power in this area. The rest of the people had to maintain the devouring Yuan power. Only in this way could the devouring Yuan power be created, and ensure that Li Zongjiu and the rest could not use their Yuan power. Roar! Abundant Yuan power instantly flowed into Jin Shan's body. Jin Shan immediately roared angrily. His strength was also constantly breaking through. His aura was overwhelming. In the end, he stopped at the level of a 9th-grade sovereign. He had not reached the honorable realm. However, in Jin Shan's opinion, the strength of a 9th-grade sovereign was more than enough to deal with Li Zongjiu. Now take another punch from me. Jin Shan's original strength, under the condition that he possessed elemental energy, was 10 times stronger than when he possessed elemental energy. He threw out a punch. In an instant, it was as if thousands of giant dragons and divine eagles were flapping their wings at the same time. Such terrifying power surged from the sky and the ground. Chapter 1444. Facing Jin Shan's punch. Li Zhongjiu gave him the same respect. He used 50% of his strength. Boom! Jin Shan gave it his all. Under Li Zhongjiu's punch, Jin Shan's body was sent flying. Jin Shan's speed was even faster than Jin Shan's. Jin Shan's body was sent flying. After crashing into a mountain 1,000 meters away, he was buried in the ruins and never got up. He was probably crippled. On Li Zhongjiu's fist, a trace of chaotic energy gradually disappeared. Chaotic energy. You have mastered the chaotic energy. Tun Chi's eyes suddenly widened. Tun Chi was very sensitive when it came to discovering the attributes of power. In reality, the devouring Yuan clan did not only possess Yuan power. They also possessed some elemental energy, which they could easily devour. However, they were unable to refine some of the higher elemental energies, because their elemental energy was too strong. Moreover, they were viewed as a nemesis. Basically, one would only end up dead after encountering these people. Therefore, once they encountered someone who had mastered high-level powers, only the more powerful devouring Yuan clan could affect them. Jin Shan did not expect to encounter one of them. Tun Chi could not believe it herself. When the rest of the Golden Dragon clan saw Jin Shan giving it his all, they circulated their Yuan power. They clearly had enough strength to easily smash Li Zhongjiu into pieces with one punch. However, in the next second they were sent flying. Not only did he fail to injure Li Zhongjiu, but he was also sent flying. This was simply a terrifying reversal of the situation. It was completely different from what they had imagined. Therefore, the four of them took a small step back. When they looked at Li Zhongjiu again, they understood how terrifying the person in front of them was. What's wrong? Are you all scared? At this moment, Long Ji also stood up. She seemed to have swallowed a pill, and her injuries had healed quite a bit. Fortunately, Li Zhongjiu was here. Otherwise, Long Ji would not have dared to speak so arrogantly. Li Zhongjiu did not care about Long Ji's provocation. As long as he killed the devouring Yuan clan and achieved his goal, it would be fine. This person has the chaotic energy. Our devouring Yuan realm is ineffective against him. Moreover, he is quite strong. We are no match for him. We have to retreat quickly. Tun Chi did not lose her rationality because of hatred. Mainly, even if she killed her way out, she might not be able to gain any benefits. She might not be able to defeat Li Zhongjiu. Hence, it was best for them to escape as soon as possible. The chaotic force was not something they could contend against right now. If they were late, they would definitely be killed by Li Zhongjiu. However, even if they wanted to escape, Li Zhongjiu had never agreed. What a joke, I didn't say you can leave. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Zhongjiu also charged out. Boom! There seemed to be a surge of energy under his feet. Li Zhongjiu's speed exploded in an instant. The first thing he did was to reach Tun Chi. Then, he broke Tun Chi's throat. Bang! Tun Chi only had time to let out a wail. Then Li Zhongjiu killed her. She fell to the ground. The rest of the Golden Dragon clan also wanted to delay Li Zhongjiu. As they attacked, they were all easily sent flying by Li Zhongjiu. Jin Shan, who had been sent flying earlier, was still buried in the ruins and had never appeared. It could be seen how serious the injury from that punch was. One punch for one. They were all very weak. None of the devouring Yuan clan members who wanted to escape could run away. Even with the effulgence weapon in their hands, they could not leave any injuries on Li Zhongjiu's body. The 7-star moon slashing sword easily killed the people in front of him. Boom! The rest of the devouring Yuan clan members were also slashed to pieces by Li Zhongjiu. However, they were still alive because of their strong vitality. As long as their third eye was not damaged, they could continue to live. Bai Shisan was stunned when he saw Li Zhongjiu's terrifying fighting strength. Then, he turned into a white dragon and flew into the distance. Isn't it a little too late to escape now? Behind White 13, no idea when Long Ji's figure appeared. She was combing her hair with an exquisite wooden comb. She was a little embarrassed after being beaten up. Therefore, she had to maintain her delicate image and always carried a comb with her. When Bai Shisan heard the voice behind him, he was scared out of his wits. Without the devouring Yuan clan's devouring Yuan territory, naturally, Long Ji's strength had recovered to its peak. These guys had chased her until she was in such a sorry state. Naturally, Long Ji wanted to take revenge. Bai Shisan released his mental strength. It formed a powerful mental attack that rushed toward Long Ji. What are you doing? I haven't even tidied up my hair. Are you trying to rebel? Long Ji's tone was full of resentment. Then she raised her palm. Bai Shisan's power was suppressed instantly. Roar! Bai Shisan knew that his attack would not have any effect on the latter. Immediately, he moved his body in a panic. At the same time, he fled into the distance. Obviously, a strong sense of danger was approaching rapidly. In the next second, Bai Shisan's body fell from the sky quickly. Boom! In front of Long Ji, Bai Shisan's power was no threat at all. Thank you for taking care of me before. Long Ji came in front of Bai Shisan. Her eyes were filled with a smile that frightened Bai Shisan. In the next second, she smashed Bai Shisan's head. Then she took out the dragon pearl. At the same time, she extracted Bai Shisan's dragon soul. You could have offended anyone, but you had to offend your sister, Long Ji. In Long Ji's palm, Bai Shisan's soul was suspended. She directly sent it into the dragon pearl. Soon, Bai Shisan's soul was sealed in the dragon pearl. With Bai Shisan's power, he could not break the power of the dragon pearl. The dragon pearl in her hand became a dragon soul pearl. The value of the dragon soul pearl was self-evident. Whether it was to the dragon clan or the human clan, it was equivalent to a supreme treasure. The main thing was to refine the dragon soul pearl directly and integrate the power within it into one's own body. It was also a very powerful object. For some people, they could directly exert the magical effect of the dragon soul pearl to the extreme. They could even completely release the power of the dragon soul pearl in an instant, forming a terrifying tide of power. They could completely release the power of the dragon soul pearl in one go. It could directly become a powerful weapon. There were many magical effects. However, the creation of the dragon soul pearl required a lot of effort. One dragon soul pearl required an entire giant dragon. It was naturally easy for Long Ji, who had recovered her strength, to kill Bai Shisan in an instant. It was no wonder that Jin Shan and the others wanted to recruit Long Ji. She was too powerful. Even if they wanted to mobilize the devouring Yuan clan, they would need to send out 5 experts. Li Zongjio had already killed everyone on the spot. He used a gunny sack to put the heads of Tun Chi and the others together. Since Li Zongjio had said that he would kill them all, how could he go back on his words? He had to kill everyone from the devouring Yuan clan. When the time came, he would pile the heads in front of the experts from the devouring Yuan clan and let them feel despair. I didn't expect you to have a hobby of collecting heads. Long Ji's figure flew over. She saw Li Zongjio's actions. However, Li Zongjio ignored Long Ji because Li Zongjio was not in the mood. Yes. When Long Ji saw Li Zongjio's cold expression, she could not help but curl her lips. In the dragon tribe, this old lady was considered a flower. How could this brat look down on me? I can only say that you have no taste. Li Zongjio caught the dragon soul pearl and looked at it. Finally, he looked at Long Ji with an astonished gaze because the dragon soul pearl in his hand was not simple. In order to inject the dragon soul into the dragon soul pearl, one would need to be extremely strong. The dragon soul pearl was extremely fragile, and the dragon soul was extremely strong. It was like stuffing a piece of tofu into a rock. How could an ordinary person do it? However, after stuffing it in, the power of the dragon soul pearl would gradually increase. This was the true power of the dragon soul pearl. Using the dragon soul to nurture the dragon soul pearl. This was also one of the ways to upgrade the dragon soul pearl. However, under normal circumstances, no one would do this as it was too costly. Sure enough, the experts who came out of the draconic penitentiary were not ordinary. My draconic penitentiary secret technique. Long Ji saw Li Zongjio's gaze and immediately understood. At the same time, she was surprised. Li Zongjio seemed to know about the dragon soul pearl. What a terrifying and mysterious guy. Those who came out of the draconic penitentiary were extremely terrifying. However, looking at Li Zongjio's attitude, he was probably one of the most ruthless people in the human clan. After cleaning up, Li Zongjie was ready to kill everyone on the Dragon Island. However, he still needed a lot of time to find them. For Li Zongjie, time was the last thing he lacked. Seeing that Li Zongjie was about to leave, Longji quickly said, "I will help you find the Devouring Yuan clan. I know where they are." "You killed the Devouring Yuan clan. I will clean up the Devouring Yuan clan. You can do whatever you want with them. I will give you all the dragon soul pearls that I have." Li Zongjie stopped in his tracks. He turned around and looked at Longji. Plus the Dragon King's treasury. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.